My husband invented a time machine and, without a second thought, traveled back to resurrect the love of his life. His journey through time must have altered the course of my present life. On the first day, I discovered the groom's name on our marriage certificate had changed to that of my arch-rival. On the second day, I found that same rival lying in my bed. On the third day, a little kid who looked just like my arch-nemesis opened the front door and called out, "Mommy," after our happy life as a family of 3, my husband returned from his time travel, utterly devastated. In the third year of my marriage to Qingyonian, the genius scientist invented a machine capable of traversing time and space. He told me, "Su Qing, I want to travel back in time and bring Jiangsu back to life." Jiangsu was his girlfriend from university. The reason they broke up was because she was determined to pursue her career abroad. Half a year after his breakup with Jiangsu, he confessed his feelings to me. Back then, Qingyonian was a top student, a golden boy with flawless looks and personality. Having such a prize fall right into my lap, it was impossible for me not to be moved. I said yes, and we became a couple. We got married after graduate school, and it's been 3 years now. I don't know much about Jiangsu, only that she was also exceptional. She passed away in a plane crash while returning to the country. Qingyonian promised me, "Su Qing, don't worry, you are my wife now. I'm only going back because I feel Jiangsu's death was such a tragedy. Once I bring her back, I will return through time." A bitter, twisted smile stretched across my face. "Qingyonian, what am I to you? Qingyonian, are you really telling me Jiangsu means nothing to you? Are you lying to yourself, too?" He was silent for a long moment before finally speaking. "Su Qing, let's get a divorce." I let out a cold, derisive laugh. "I've thought about it. If something happens to me, the best way forward is for us to get a divorce. I'll leave with nothing, wait for me for 2 years. If I haven't come back by then, you're free to marry someone else. What makes you think I'd be willing to wait for you?" Qingyonian looked at me with a weary expression, his voice softening. "Su Qing, please don't make a scene." When I got back from work, I felt a soreness in my throat. Without a word, I went straight to the bedroom and lay down. That night, I felt as if I were sinking, the high fever robbing me of my voice. In my feverish haze, Qingyonian lifted me gently, his voice soft as he said, "Darling, you need to take your medicine." After he had helped me take the medicine, I asked him in a hoarse whisper, "Promise me, promise you won't leave." In the lamplight, Qingyonian's face looked exceptionally gentle and refined. He fell silent. I let out a bitter laugh. "Let's get divorced tomorrow." The next day, my mind was still foggy. Qingyonian tried to reason with me. "There's no rush to get divorced. Why don't we wait until you're feeling better?" "That won't be necessary." I was wearing my coat. When Qingyonian moved to wrap a scarf around me, I subtly shifted away. He handed me the scarf, a hint of dejection in his gesture. After I put it on myself, he drove us to the Civil Affairs Bureau. As we stepped out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, my vision went black and I nearly stumbled. Qingyonian caught me. In just 1 more month, we would receive our divorce certificate, and he would board a time machine to return to the past. On the way back, I asked him, "If you really do bring Jiangsu back, and she says she likes you and wants to be with you, what happens to us?" He promised me, "Su Qing, I will be with you. I choose you." I just found it laughable. For the past month, Qingyonian and I have been like strangers under the same roof, barely speaking a word to each other. Probably due to my low spirits, this illness has been particularly persistent. When I stepped on the scale, I realized I had lost 10 pounds. Qingyonian and I had just gotten our marriage certificate from the Civil Affairs Bureau. As he stepped into the time machine, he said to me, "Su Qing, wait for me to come back." I spoke up, "Qingyonian, I won't be waiting for you." With a look of utter shock in his eyes, he slowly faded away inside the time machine. In the days that followed, I began to live alone. At first, I couldn't quite get used to it. The bed suddenly felt too big, and the house felt so empty. I tucked my divorce certificate under my pillow. A year later, when it slipped out, I discovered it had somehow transformed into a marriage certificate too. When I opened it, I was stunned to see a photo of me and my arch-nemesis, Qin Chuan, staring back from the marriage license. The date on it was March 2015. Back then, I was still a university student. If I remember correctly, in my memory, it feels like I had only been with Qingyonian for half a year. So, why did I end up marrying Qin Chuan? Moreover, while the interior decoration of the house remained the same, so many other things had changed. A small nightlight had appeared on the headboard. Now, whenever I got up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, I could simply tap it on. The washing machine in the bathroom, which always made strange noises, had also been replaced with a brand new, fully automatic one. I opened the wardrobe and froze for a moment. Qingyonian's clothes were completely gone. In their place hung a set of sharply pressed men's suits. Then, I noticed more details. After I had thrown away Qing Yonyan's toothbrush, 2 new ones appeared on the bathroom counter. The yellow one was mine, and the blue one, could it be Qin Chuan's? There was now an extra pair of men's slippers by the front door, but oddly enough, there weren't many other signs of a man living here. It didn't feel like a man's long-term home. I wanted to find proof that I had been in contact with Qin Chuan. I opened WeChat and found that Qin Chuan was no longer in my block list, but was now sitting right there in my contacts, bold as brass. Then I opened up our chat history. It was sparse. The last time we spoke was 10 days ago. He said, "I'm away on a business trip." I just replied with an, "Okay," and then we never spoke again. The next night, I woke up in the middle of the night to find a man lying beside me, and I was startled. When I turned on the light, I saw that it was Qin Chuan's face. He was wearing a robe, its belt loosely tied, revealing the smooth lines of his chest muscles. With a drowsy, sleepy expression, I asked him, "What are you doing in my house?" "In my bed." A wounded look instantly crossed his face, yet his tone was icy cold. "Su Qing, we're married. Of course I'd be in your bed." I asked him, "Why are we married? Why would I have married you?" In my memory, Qing Yonyan and I were the ones who were married. Qin Chuan and I weren't originally sworn enemies. We fell out because of Qing Yonyan. My relationship with Qing Yonyan was rocky from the start. He wasn't exactly warm toward me. Qin Chuan tried to talk me into breaking up with him time and again. We had countless arguments, and after the final blowout, I blocked him, deciding to cut ties for good. All these years, I haven't been without regret, but I could never swallow my pride and reach out to Qin Chuan to make amends. It's the same with Qin Chuan. He hasn't reached out to me all these years. At this point, I could see Qin Chuan's expression visibly darken. "Su Qing, we've been married for so many years, and you still can't forget Qing Yonyan. What's so great about a man like him?" I tried to reassure him. "No, it's not that. Qing Yonyan is trash. Who in their right mind would be unable to forget him?" He asked me with a look of utter disbelief. "You really forgot?" "I really did." He asked me, "Can you repeat that?" I asked him, "Repeat what?" "Qing Yonyan is trash." The corners of his lips curled up in a satisfied smirk. 3. I asked him, "So why on earth did we get married?" He shot back, "Don't you know? If I knew, I wouldn't have asked." Lying there in bed with Qin Chuan, I felt incredibly awkward and was worried about what he might do. Thankfully, he slept very properly. While showering this morning, I discovered a new scar had suddenly appeared on my stomach. By the time I came out of the bathroom, breakfast was already set on the table. It was all my favorites: congee with century egg and pork, soup dumplings, and there was also a pastry on the table. Qin Chuan put on the black suit hanging in the wardrobe. With an unnatural, almost cold expression, he told me, "I'm going for my morning run. I'll pass by a breakfast place," and picked up a little extra. I eyed him suspiciously. The soup dumplings from the south side, pastries from Sue's bakery up north. That's quite the detour for passing by. I looked him up and down. In all my memory, I'd never seen Qin Chuan in a suit. Truth be told, with his tall frame and long legs, a natural clothes hanger, he looked really good in one. I asked him, "Why are you dressed like this?" "I'm heading to work." I asked him, "What's your current position?" Then I lifted my shirt. Qin Chuan was taken aback, and his face flushed instantly. I looked at him with a puzzled expression. If we'd been married for so many years, we should have seen each other's bodies long ago. Why does he still act so innocent? I asked him, "How did I get this scar on my stomach?" He asked me, "Su Qing, do you really not remember?" I've decided to come clean with him. Actually, in my memory, I married Qing Yonyan. His hand, holding the soup dumpling, froze mid-air. "Su Qing, need I remind you?" "I don't want to hear this. After all these years, you still can't forget him, can you?" "No, you need to listen." He crossed his arms, looking as if he was waiting to hear what story I could possibly spin. I told him, "Actually, I married Qing Yonyan." His face darkened. "My name isn't Qing Yonyan." As he stood up to leave, I held him back. In the 3rd year of our marriage, Qing Yonyan invented a time machine. He said he was going back to resurrect Jiangsu. We got divorced before he left. Then, I lived alone for a year. I don't know how, but a marriage certificate for you and me ended up under my pillow. I have no idea why you're even in this house, and I certainly don't know why we got married. So, what's this scar on my stomach? He looked at me, startled, but quickly composed himself. "It's a C-section scar. We have a child." I asked him, "But there's no sign a child has ever lived in this house." "How old is he?" "He's 6. My parents are looking after him. We're both busy with work, so it's easier for them to take care of him." I asked him, "Is it a boy or a girl? Can I see him this afternoon?" I touched the scar on my stomach. completely unable to fathom how I could have given birth to a child when I married Qingyonian. It wasn't that I didn't want children, but he was the one who wanted to be dinks. I had to agree. So in our 3 years of marriage, we never had any kids. Qin Chuan told me. It's a boy, he's in elementary school, I'll pick him up in the afternoon after school lets out. Okay. That afternoon, I saw an adorable little kid standing at the door, looking at me timidly. Finally, he called out to me, sweet and well-behaved, Mom. A sudden wave of tenderness washed over me. I truly never imagined I could have a child like this, for when it was time for bed, Qin Chuan was in his robe, the belt loosely tied, casually revealing his well-defined chest muscles. I sighed. I think I'll sleep in the other room. Qin Chuan looked aggrieved. Su Qing, we're husband and wife. I was silent for a moment, but I have no memories of our life together. I can't accept this so suddenly. He immediately promised, I won't do anything. If you don't trust me, then you're questioning my character. Before I could reply, I saw the little tyke at the door, clutching a pillow. Daddy. Then he looked at me and finally spoke up timidly, Mommy, I'm scared to sleep all by myself. I want to sleep with you and Daddy. My heart melted, but when I turned my head, I saw Qin Chuan looking like he had something to say but was holding back. The little munchkin stood by the head of the bed, wearing soft, beige pajamas. He asked me, Mommy, can I sleep in the middle? I want to snuggle with you. Of course you can. Then, through gritted teeth, Qin Chuan said, Qingjing, you've been sleeping on your own since you were 3. My heart ached even more. My poor baby, come here to Mommy. Qingjing took off his slippers, placed them neatly alongside our shoes, and then obediently settled down to lie between Qin Chuan and me. I usually have a bit of trouble falling asleep, but that night I slept soundly without a single dream. When I woke in the morning, I found Qingjing nestled in my arms. As I opened my eyes, he looked up at me with his big, dewy eyes and said, Good morning, Mama. Then his little face leaned in, and he planted a kiss on my cheek. It was a magical, soft sensation. Qin Chuan lifted Qingjing out of bed. Qingjing, enough with the act. It's time for school. Dad's going to get you dressed and take you right now. Qingjing said with a perfectly serious face. What are you talking about, Dad? I really do love Mommy. Then he turned his head to look at me. Mommy, even though Grandma and Grandpa are really nice to me, I still want to be with you more. Will Daddy still come pick me up after school today? Got it. It was a bit surreal. After breakfast, Qin Chuan drove, while Qingjing and I sat in the back seat, all heading out to drop Qingjing off at school. I asked Qin Chuan, what does the little one usually like to eat? Qin Chuan listed them off one by one. I hadn't expected him to be so well informed. Finally, he added, he'll eat any kind of junk food. Then I asked, does he usually just wear his school uniform? I haven't seen Bao Bao in any other clothes. Qin Chuan replied, yeah, he mostly wears the uniform. His other clothes are all at my parents' place. Well, let's go buy him a few outfits after school. Qin Chuan hesitated, but finally couldn't hold back. He has a name, it's Qingjing. Nestled in my arms, Qingjing looked up with an innocent expression. But I am Mommy's good boy. At the school gate, Qingjing gave me one last reluctant kiss before finally walking inside. I'm not one to be swept up by consumerism. My wardrobe is minimalist, and I only shop for clothes twice a year. But after Qin Chuan, Qingjing, and I entered the mall, I felt like I was dressing up a little figurine. Qingjing looks very much like Qin Chuan, with deep, sharp eyes and brows. However, his lips are like mine, slightly upturned, which perfectly softens that sharpness even in his school uniform. His striking good looks were impossible to hide, especially since the sales assistant was so smooth with compliments. Your child looks absolutely handsome in this outfit, a proper little English prince. This set is lovely too, very Chinese academic chic. Qin Chuan tried to reason with me from the side. That's enough, really, the kid's growing so fast, these won't fit for long. I was on a shopping spree and ended up buying a good dozen sets, with Qin Chuan loaded down with bags. We finally left the mall. Qin Chuan made dinner. To be fair, it really suited my taste, and Qingjing must have loved it too. He packed his bowl of rice down firmly and ended up not leaving a single grain. I even had the fleeting thought that this was what home should feel like. 5. Back when Qingyonian and I were married, he almost always ate at his workplace. Once he got home, he would immediately bury himself in his study. Engrossed in his research, we rarely get the chance to have meals together. Even when we do eat together, I'm usually the one cooking. My culinary skills are quite basic, just enough to get the food cooked. After dinner, Qingjing obediently went to do his homework, while Qin Chuan continued to handle company affairs. With nothing better to do, I picked up my tablet to watch a TV series. When I looked up again, a plate of freshly cut and washed fruit and a glass of honey water had been placed beside me. It was prepared by Qin Chuan. I said to him, "Thank you." His eyes couldn't hide his disappointment. "Qing, we're husband and wife. This is what I should do. You don't have to thank me, okay?" I took a bite of the watermelon. It was very sweet. Then I ate a blueberry, which was also very sweet. Qin Chuan is much more attentive than Qing Yonyan. He notices what I like to eat. In the past, I was always the one bringing fruit to Qing Yonyan, and he would always look at me with a helpless expression, saying, "Su Qing, you're bothering me again." After Qin Jing finished his homework, Qin Chuan carried him to brush his teeth and wash his face. Then he went to take a shower himself, as usual. With an air of supreme nonchalance, he emerged from the bathroom, revealing his chest muscles. His hair was swept back, still dripping, accentuating his sharp, intense eyes. That's when I caught a suspiciously sweet scent of peach and milk wafting from him. He looked utterly embarrassed. "I used your body wash. I ran out of mine." When I went to take a shower, the bathroom was spotless. Even the hair from the drain had been cleaned up and thrown in the trash for some inexplicable reason. I glanced at Qin Chuan's men's body wash. The bottle was still full, so he did it on purpose. After my shower, Qin Chuan naturally picked up the hairdryer, wanting to dry my hair for me. I refused, saying, "I can do it myself." While blow-drying his hair, Qin Chuan had already given Qin Jing a bath, wrapping him in a large white towel before starting to dry his hair. His slender, well-defined fingers moved through Qin Jing's locks. The little boy's cheeks were flushed a rosy pink, utterly adorable. Finally, he applied baby lotion all over Qin Jing's body, gave his bottom a light pat, and said, "Get dressed by yourself." Qin Jing was wearing a set of off-white pajamas, and so was Qin Chuan. Finally, Qin Jing's gaze fell on the new set of pajamas on the sofa. Doesn't Mama want to wear matching pajamas with her baby? I'm truly at my wit's end. The three of us were wearing matching family pajamas, with Qin Jing lying in the middle. "Good night, Mom." "Good night, sweetheart," Qin Chuan added. "And me," I said. "Good night to you, too." When I woke up the next day, I was in Qin Chuan's arms. While Qin Jing had already moved to the middle of the bed, it seemed like Qin Chuan's buttons just wouldn't stay fastened. I scrambled out in a fluster and accidentally pressed my hand against Qin Chuan's chest. Qin Chuan let out a low grunt. I asked him, "Are you okay?" "I'm fine." Qin Jing opened his eyes with a look of innocent confusion. "Daddy's hurt. Daddy has an ouchie. Mommy should blow on it to make it better. Blow on it and the pain will go away." Then, under the pressure of Qin Jing's gaze, I reluctantly blew a puff of air onto his chest. Then I threatened Qin Chuan with a look. "Tell me, does it hurt?" Qin Chuan stared straight at me. "It doesn't hurt." 6. I worked a bit late. When I got home, Qin Chuan had already picked up Little Doubting. On the table, besides the prepared dinner, lay a quiet, red velvet box. A bit surprised, I asked Qin Chuan, "What's this?" He seemed a little awkward. "Open it and see." When I opened it, inside was a beautiful gold necklace. Qin Chuan said, "This is for you." Qin Jing chimed in from the side, "Dad, put it on for Mom." Logically, I should have refused, but in this atmosphere, I couldn't find a reason to say no. Qin Chuan undid the clasp. As he was putting the necklace on me, his fingers accidentally brushed against the nape of my neck, sending a sudden, tingling sensation through my skin. Qin Chuan, Qin Jing, and I were on our way back from grocery shopping, and I was still holding Qin Chuan's hand. I hadn't really wanted to, but Qin Jing said that other kids' moms and dads always held hands. As we reached our doorstep, we saw someone standing there. It was a man in an overcoat. When he turned around, I realized it was Qing Yonyan. He looked weary and travel-stained, as if he had aged 5 years. Qin Chuan had replaced the old door with a smart video doorbell, so Qing Yonyan couldn't get in. I pulled my hand free from Qin Chuan's grasp, feeling like I'd been caught cheating. Yet, it's me, whose name is now on the same household register as Qin Chuan. Qing Yonyan's gaze fell upon my hand, which had just been intertwined with Qin Chuan's. Finally, with a pained and restrained look, he turned to me and said, "Su Qing, I'm back. I didn't know my return would alter the course of events. You were supposed to be my wife, Su Qing. The one you love is me. Isn't that right?" Qin Jing looked puzzled. "Dad, what is this uncle saying?" Qin Chuan picked up Qin Jing. "Sir, please don't say such strange things. Su Qing is my lawful wife, and we have a lovely child," Qing Yonyan said with great agitation. "Nonsense. Su Qing is clearly my wife." I reminded him, "Qing Yonyan, we were already divorced before you traveled back in time." A faint smile touched my lips. "I suppose you've managed to bring Jiangsu back to life by now. Congratulations on finally laying that old burden of yours to rest after all these years, Su Qing." It's you I love. As I went to open the door, I glanced back at Qingyonian. I'm sorry, but please respect a married woman. My husband now is Qin Chuan, strutting like a rooster that had won the fight, carried Qin Jing and followed me into the house. Qingyonian was locked out. I looked around the house, which had changed dramatically over the past 6 months. A new beige carpet covered the floor. All the table corners and chair legs were padded to prevent the child from bumping into them. And even a toy that Qin Jing had left behind yesterday was still on the sofa on the dining table. A bouquet of flowers was in full, vibrant bloom. It was bought by Qin Chuan, who loved creating these little rituals in daily life. The moment he stepped inside and set Qin Jing down, Qin Chuan's imposing demeanor instantly deflated. He asked me, Qingyonian is back. Are you going to get back together with him? After all, the one you've always liked is him. I cut him off. No. The moment he decided to go back, I knew there was no chance of us reconciling. When we left the house in the morning and opened the door, Qingyonian was sitting there, his eyes bloodshot. As soon as he saw me, he spoke urgently. Su Qing, I've been waiting for you all night. Can I come in and rest for a bit? I called you so many times. Why didn't you answer? Then his gaze fell on Qin Chuan. His voice was hoarse. You didn't sleep together, did you? Qin Jing tried to reason with him. Uncle, it's impolite to stay outside someone's door all night. If my dad doesn't sleep with my mom, does that mean he should sleep with you, Uncle? Qingyonian's breathing grew ragged as he tried to grasp my hand, his expression one of acute anguish. Su Qing, I won't allow this. This is our home, our love nest. If there's nothing else, please don't block the doorway. I need to take our son to school. Besides, if Qin Chuan and I never slept together, do you think our son just materialized out of thin air? Qingyonian said urgently. That was all a mistake, just a mistake. I glanced at Qin Chuan, a little taken aback. I had asked Qin Chuan about it before, but he was always evasive. It seemed Qingyonian knew the inside story. I thought he would continue, but he just closed his mouth again. Qingyonian urged me, Su Qing, divorce him, let's be together. Then, as if steeling himself with great resolve, he said, if you like this child, I will treat him as my own. Qin Chuan spoke coldly. I wasn't aware, Dr. Chung, that you had a penchant for breaking up families. My son has a biological father. We are a happy family, so your concern is unnecessary. He put his arm around my shoulder and led Qin Jing past Qingyonian. Qin Jing delivered the final blow. Uncle, I don't like you as a dad. You're too ugly. I was distracted all morning at work. I opened my browser and searched for Jiangsu. I discovered that Qingyonian had indeed revived Jiangsu's career. She is still abroad and has already won a series of major awards. I'm happy that a talented woman has the opportunity to shine, but I can't accept my ex-husband's emotional detachment. 7. Qin Chuan texted me, saying his parents missed Qin Jing, and he was going to take him back in the afternoon. I told him, let's go together this afternoon. I'd like to visit your parents as well. Okay, in the afternoon. I bought some gifts. Qin Chuan picked up the child first, then swung by the mall to get me. The three of us arrived at the Qin family home together. I was a bit nervous before stepping inside. I knew Qin Chuan's parents, but it had been many years since I'd last seen them. Besides, I had a feeling there had always been problems in my marriage with Qin Chuan, so I had no idea what kind of reception I'd get from his parents. The moment the door opened, Qin Jing rushed in first, throwing himself into the arms of an elderly woman. He looked up and said, Grandma, I came to see you. Holding gifts in my hands, I said, hello, Auntie, I'm Su Qing. Upon hearing how I addressed him, a flicker of disappointment was unmistakable in his eyes. Nevertheless, he ushered me in, saying, come in, have a seat, I'll cook, and we'll have dinner at home. The old man wore an ingratiating smile. The Qin family's house wasn't large, but it was clean and tidy. I sat awkwardly on the sofa. Qin Chuan rolled up his sleeves and went to help in the kitchen. Qin Jing, however, was quite adept at playing with the ball. His little ball rolled away, went into a room, and ended up under the bed. Then he called out to me, Mom, help me get my ball out. I asked Qin Jing, shouldn't I ask for permission before going into someone else's room? Qin Jing tilted his head and said, but that's Dad's room. I grabbed a broom to sweep the ball out, and when I looked up, I knocked a notebook off the shelf. A photograph fluttered out from between the notebook's pages. It was a picture of me and Qin Chuan. I remembered it was originally a group photo of 5, but the others had been cropped out, leaving just him and me. Qin Chuan, why on earth would you keep a photo like this? I went to pick up the notebook and saw what was written inside. June 17, 2011. Oh my God, I like Su Qing so much. I really want to confess my feelings to her. I want her to be my girlfriend, but I'm too scared to say anything. I'm afraid if I confess, we won't even be able to stay friends. I froze. Qin Chuan. Has he had a crush on me all this time? My conscience told me to stop looking, but my curiosity urged me to keep going. What Qin Chuan never knew was that I had feelings for him too that summer after the college entrance exams, but I was too afraid to confess. After we started university and went to different schools, we drifted apart, and I gradually developed feelings for Qing Yonyan. I kept scrolling down. I stumbled upon some content from 2015, March 27, 2015. That scumbag Qing Yonyan suddenly said he was going back to his ex-girlfriend, so Su Qing asked me out for a drink. Seeing Su Qing so heartbroken and devastated, my own heart just shattered. I took her to the hotel, and she kept calling out Qing Yonyan's name, holding my hand and not letting me leave. She kissed me so passionately and forward. I made a mistake, but I don't regret it. May 15, 2015. Su Qing is pregnant. It's mine. I forced her to marry me. She is mine now. Even though she has never loved me, why won't she love me? As long as I stay by her side, she's bound to love me. So what if she doesn't love me? I'm the one who will be with her for the rest of her life. Before I could turn to the next page, I saw Qin Chuan standing in the doorway. He was looking at the diary in my hands. He looked utterly bewildered. I looked at him, smiled, and said, Qin Chuan, you should get a new codebook next time. Just as he tried to take the diary from my hands, I stepped forward, stood on my tiptoes, and kissed him. The man, who was usually unflappable even in the face of disaster, was now wide-eyed, frozen in place, not daring to move a muscle. Qin Jing covered his eyes. Instead, see no evil, see no evil. I asked Qin Chuan, what, don't you even know how to kiss? He gripped my waist and deepened the kiss as he lifted me up. His body accidentally bumped into the bookshelf behind him. It toppled over, sending its contents scattering and tumbling to the floor. When Qin's mother heard the noise and came over, Qin Chuan was still kissing me. She looked utterly shocked, then picked up Qin Jing and carried him out, closing the door behind her. On her way after Qin Chuan and I finished kissing, I looked at him and said, Qin Chuan, I love you. His eyes burned with intensity. You're not lying to me, are you? If this is a beautiful dream, I hope I never wake up. He took my hand. I told him it was a twist of fate that made us husband and wife, but perhaps this is exactly how fate intended it to be. And what if I liked you back in high school, too? Qin Chuan looked both surprised and overjoyed, yet utterly crestfallen. I was planning to confess to you in college, after we got into the same university, but my score was lower than yours. I didn't choose my major wisely when applying, and I ended up missing the cutoff. After that, I just felt I wasn't good enough for you, and yet, we just let all those years slip away for no reason. While Qin Chuan and I were tidying up the bookshelf, our hands accidentally brushed against each other. Then, he took hold of my hand, and so, we continued, each using one hand, putting things away. After everything was finally put in order, Qin Chuan looked at me, his gaze intense. Su Qing, Qing Yonyan is back. I'm so afraid that if he plays the victim, you'll soften. I'm terrified you'll choose him over me. I reassured him, no, Qin Chuan, at this very moment, the one I love is you, and I will continue to love you in the future. I explained to Qin Chuan. Qing Yonyan and I were already divorced before he invented the time machine and traveled back. There is nothing between us now. I thought about it. Someone as proud as Qing Yonyan probably wouldn't pester me. During dinner that evening, Qin's mother kept putting food in my bowl. I finally ran out of options and said, Mom, please, that's enough. Oh, alright. The old man lowered his head, tears secretly falling onto the tabletop before he wiped them away. Seeing how happy and harmonious your life is now puts my mind at ease. By the time we finished dinner, it was already past 8 in the evening, so Qin Chuan and I stayed at the Qin family home. Qin Jing slept with his grandmother. There was a single bed in Qin Chuan's bedroom. I complained to Qin Chuan, could you stop crowding me? You're so warm. He said helplessly, sorry, I didn't mean to. This bed is too small. Maybe we should just go home. I'll get the car. No need. Then I'll sleep on the couch. That won't be necessary either. I snapped in frustration. Qin Chuan, do I have to spell it out for you? Can't you figure out what to do on your own? He floundered, panicked. But my mom and Qin Jing are right next door. I'll be quiet. And then, with a loud thud, we both tumbled right off the bed. Qin Chuan shielded my head as his mother knocked on the door, asking, what happened? Are you alright? Then Qin Chuan replied helplessly, it's nothing. 9. While I was having lunch at noon, I ran into Qing Yonyan. He stopped me and said, Su Qing, I was really wrong. Can't you give our relationship another chance? Then he looked at my neck. What happened to your neck? It's just that dog Qin Chuan marking his territory. I pulled my scarf over, covering the spot perfectly. None of your business. Do I need to remind you that my husband is Qin Chuan now? We're very happy together, so I'd appreciate it if you, the great scientist Qing, wouldn't cross any ethical lines. Qing Yonian looks utterly devastated. He asked me, if I hadn't tried to revive Jiangsu, would we still be together? I sighed, maybe. Who can say for sure about the past? I've moved on. And I hope you can too. You still have a long career ahead of you. There are still many scientific peaks waiting for you to conquer. Qing Yonian asked me, what would be the point of conquering those scientific peaks if you're not by my side? I tried to console him. You'll meet someone you like in the future, Qing Yonian returned, utterly dejected. And on his way back, I received a message from him. He asked me, Su Qing, if I go back one more time and stop you from meeting Qin Chuan, will you still be my wife? We would still be a couple in love. I tried to reason with him. Qing Yonian, what's done is done. There's no need for you to take this risk. I hope you won't ruin my simple happiness. He was bordering on obsession. No, happiness is only when you're by my side. When we're together, my heart was filled with unease, terrified that after Qing Yonian returned, the course of our lives would change once more. Qin Chuan and I would not get married, and our child, that adorable baby, Qin Jing, would never be born. As the days went by, Qin Chuan was still by my side, and Qin Jing had already entered the 2nd grade. I found a notebook at home. On it were some familiar handwriting. It was Qing Yonian's. Su Qing, I went ahead and bought this apartment. This way, if I write something in this notebook, you'll be able to see it. I don't know why, but the point in time I traveled back to was off. It's 6 months earlier than when we got together. I miss you so much, but you don't like me yet. Don't worry, in another 6 months, I'll confess my feelings to you, and then we'll be together. I frowned, looking at the notebook that had a distinct air of age about it. Lying in bed at night, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep, my gaze fixed on Qin Chuan beside me. I pulled him over and gave him a fierce kiss. Then I asked him, Qing Yonian has traveled back in time again. He says he's going to stop us from being together. If I weren't your wife, what would you do? He paused for a moment. Anyone else would just be settling. As time went on, I grew more anxious with each passing day. Before leaving the house in the morning, I kissed Qin Chuan goodbye, then picked up my son and gave him a kiss too. Qin Jing reassured me. See you this afternoon, Mom. Don't worry, I won't disappear today. Qin Chuan comforted me, saying, don't worry, I won't let that happen. That notebook has been updated. Su Qing, I'm going to confess to you tomorrow. We're going to be together soon. This time, I won't let go. Qin Chuan hasn't come home for 3 days. When I ask Qin Jing about it, he always looks at me with an inscrutable expression and says, Mom, Dad said he's gone to defend love. That made me even more worried. I was filled with anxiety as I held Qin Jing while falling asleep. Thankfully, Qin Jing was still there the next day. After a full week, Qin Chuan finally returned. I clung to him desperately and slapped him. Do you have any idea how worried I was about you? Don't do anything that dangerous again. Qin Chuan comforted me, saying, but it was all worth it. Several new memories suddenly surfaced in my mind. The first one was right after the college entrance exams, when Qin Chuan suddenly confessed his feelings to me. I said yes. This time, he applied for a different major, didn't miss the cutoff, and we ended up at the same university. The second memory is of when Qing Yonian confessed to me, and Qin Chuan stepped out from behind me, saying, sorry, she already has a boyfriend. Qing Yonian was instantly shocked, bewildered, and helpless. The third paragraph shows Qin Chuan and me whispering to each other. Is it today? Did it happen today? Qin Chuan frowned. It must have been recently. If not, we can just try more often. We'll succeed eventually. I suspect he's just making an excuse to get frisky. That notebook was updated again. Su Qing, I never expected. The confession failed. We didn't end up together. So you ended up with Qin Chuan after all. I can't go back. The time machine malfunctioned. I'm stuck in this era forever. I wrote 2 words in my notebook. Take care. Then, Qin Chuan wrote, thank you for inventing the time machine, giving me the chance to be with my wife 4 years earlier. 10. Qing Yonian seemed to see those written words. I noticed a damp spot on the notebook, as if stained by someone's tears. Then, all the writing in the notebook vanished. One day I woke up and asked Qin Chuan, I think I loved someone else once, but I can't quite remember. Qin Chuan held me and said, that's not true, you can only ever love me. Story 2. Pei Yufeng and I grew up together, betrothed since childhood. Everyone in our circle knew he cherished me like his own life, holding me in the palm of his hand to cure my illness. He spared no effort, praying to every deity for my recovery. Yet in the end, he fell for the girl who was to donate her bone marrow to me as I was wheeled into the operating room. He forcibly took the girl away. Yuan, I can't trade her life for yours. That wouldn't be fair to her. She's innocent. With reddened eyes, he begged me, promising to find another way to save me, but he forgot. Once the arrow leaves the bow, it cannot return. In the end, I died on that cold operating table. When I opened my eyes again, I saw Pei Yufeng kneeling rigidly before my parents. I'll find another way to treat Yuan's illness, but Yingxue cannot be sacrificed. Only then did I realize, Pei Yufeng had also returned. With just half a month left before reliving my past life's death on the operating table, I reached out to my uncle in America to change fate. His reply came swiftly, I'll come get you in 3 days. After finalizing the arrangements, when Mother Pei visited, I straight up demanded to break off the engagement. Her smile froze slightly. Yuan, you're not joking with me, are you? Just this morning, Yufeng told me you two were having an engagement banquet in 3 days. Why this sudden change? Is this because of Li Yingxue? News of this morning's incident had already reached Mrs. Pei's ears, otherwise, she wouldn't have come to see me so quickly. Truth be told, no one could make sense of Pei Yufeng's actions this time. Everyone knew he'd spent 3 years sparing no expense to find matching bone marrow for me. Just when hope finally appeared, he gave up. After being reborn, I heard Pei Yufeng choose Li Yingxue once again. I nearly blurted out to Pei Yufeng, how could 20 years of our bond mean less than your 3 months with Li Yingxue? I couldn't comprehend why he'd fallen for Li Yingxue while doing everything to save me, but Pei Yufeng gave me no answer. He had none to give in the end. As compensation, he said, we'll get engaged in 3 days. During those 3 years of illness, I had countless nightmares of Pei Yufeng drowning in endless grief after my death, visions of him keeping solitary vigil at my tombstone, of him taking his own life in despair. So I told Pei Yufeng, if I ever truly die, don't mourn me too long, just remember me for 1 more year, that's enough. Yet I can't bear the cruel truth, I'm still breathing. While his heart already belongs to another, the hospital room remained silent for a long while. I looked up to meet Mrs. Pei's gaze, and smiled. Auntie, I mean every word. Mrs. Pei fell silent, but her eyes held newfound tenderness when she looked at me. Yufeng was wrong in this matter, and we're sorry you had to endure this. We won't give up searching for a bone marrow match. We all know the truth. If finding a matching bone marrow was that easy, Pei Yufeng wouldn't have spent 3 years searching. Thank you, Auntie, but no need. I'm leaving for America in 3 days. What? Mrs. Pei looked stunned. But what about Yufeng? I'd appreciate it if you could keep this between us. I don't want Yufeng to know. My tone was flat. Mrs. Pei kept staring straight at me, and the hospital room fell silent again. After 10 long minutes, she finally sighed helplessly. Yufeng is the unlucky one. He'll regret this. I shook my head. Mrs. Pei said no more, only promising to cover for me by changing the engagement party into a farewell banquet. After all, she'd watched me grow up, and this trip to America might be our last meeting, so I didn't refuse and agreed. Suddenly, I was left alone in the hospital room. I looked down at the message from my uncle. I told you to come to America ages ago, but you wouldn't listen. Why didn't I listen? Because I trusted Pei Yufeng's so-called sincerity, only to end up utterly defeated. But it doesn't matter now. This time will be different too. Over the years, it wasn't just the Pei and Meng families searching far and wide for matching bone marrow. My uncle left no stone unturned, scouring both domestic and international options. In the end, Pei Yufeng was the one who found Li Yingxue first. Their meeting was pure chance. 3 months ago, when I was readmitted to the ICU with days of raging fever, he nearly lost his mind. He overheard a nurse mention an extraordinarily efficacious temple in the capital. He flew there that very night. A blizzard was raging in the capital. His assistant begged him not to risk it, but Pei Yufeng ignored the warnings. Step by step, kowtow after kowtow, he ascended 3,000 temple steps, praying to the gods for my recovery. Yet ultimately, his strength failed him. Saved by Li Yingxue, who came down from the mountain. Li Yingxue was an orphan abandoned at the mountain's base. The temple monks later sent her to an orphanage, which is why she frequently returned to volunteer at this temple. When Pei Yufeng was speaking with the abbot, Li Yingxue overheard and told him, I can get tested for compatibility. Every additional person means more hope. The girl's fearless courage made Pei Yufeng's heart waver. From that moment onward, when the matching results came through, both the Pei family and my parents immediately teared up. No one could fathom the tremendous effort we'd all poured into this battle. Every single one of us had been walking on eggshells, hearts in our throats. My parents are barely 50, yet their hair has turned completely silver. In the face of life, aging, sickness, and death, we're all utterly insignificant. To repay Li Yingxue, Pei Yufeng became increasingly attentive, designer handbags, exquisite dresses, and lavish jewelry flowed to her like a steady stream. He'd mirror her laughter when she smiled, and move heaven and earth whenever she was upset. The signs of his detachment were there all along, yet I never noticed, or perhaps I did, but I trusted Pei Yufeng too much. Convinced our deep-rooted bond was unshakable by anyone, I was too arrogant. The next morning, my uncle texted again, "Flying to Germany today, got news there, wait for me to pick you up." I replied with a sticker before closing the chat. Suddenly, waves of commotion erupted outside. Frowning slightly, I dragged my weakened body to open the hospital room door. At the nurse's station, Pei Yufeng stood facing off against my parents while shielding Li Yingxue behind him in a protective stance. "Auntie, uncle, I know you're worried about Yuan, but I've already said I'll find a solution. Please stop harassing Yingxue." From Pei Yufeng's words, it seems my parents still refused to give up and went to persuade Li Yingxue, but in the end, Pei Yufeng found out. By then, my mother's eyes were swollen from crying. Yuan's condition is worsening. Without the surgery, she'll die. Miss Li is just donating marrow. She won't be in any danger, Yufeng, but I won't risk her life in the slightest. The moment Pei Yufeng's resolute words fell, my heart wrenched violently, my already deathly pale face losing what little color remained. My father stared at Pei Yufeng in disbelief, as if seeing him for the first time. Then Pei Yufeng knelt straight back before my parents again. "Uncle, Aunt, I'll never give up on Yuan, but if the day ever comes when she truly can't hold on, you may adopt Yingxue, letting Yingxue fulfill Yuan's filial duties in her stead." Suddenly, a sharp slap rang out. Pei Yufeng's face snapped to the side from the impact. Li Yingxue, who'd been hiding behind Pei Yufeng this whole time, finally stepped forward. Through tears, she pleaded, "Mr. Meng, I'm sorry, this is all my fault. I got scared and backed out last minute. Yufeng was only trying to help me." My father trembled with rage. "Get out, all of you, get out." Pei Yufeng suppressed his emotions and rose to leave, but our gazes accidentally met. His expression froze. Yuan. 3. I ignored him and turned back toward the hospital room. Pei Yufeng immediately chased after me. As he was about to touch me, I instinctively flinched away. He froze in place, a wounded expression flashing across his face. Yuan, don't misunderstand me. I didn't mean it that way. And I wasn't implying you couldn't handle it either. I just hope your parents will stop pressuring Yingxue. She's just an ordinary person. She has every right to choose whether or not to help. You can't emotionally blackmail her like this." My pupils contracted slightly at his words. The man before me was becoming increasingly unrecognizable. Emotional blackmail, is it? 3 months ago, Li Yingxue voluntarily had her blood drawn for matching. When the results came in, she was the one who offered to donate. My parents gave her 50 million plus a villa worth over 100 million as gratitude, hoping she'd save my life, but in the end, she backed out. She never returned the money to my parents and still happily lives in that villa. She pulled off this daylight robbery masterfully, yet now Pei Yufeng claims we're guilt-tripping her. How ridiculous. But in the end, I swallowed my sarcasm and remained silent. I simply reached to remove my emerald bracelet and handed it to Pei Yufeng. This was a birthday gift from Madame Pei when I turned 15, a family heirloom meant for daughters-in-law. Now it's returning to its rightful owner. Pei Yufeng froze momentarily. Yuan, what do you mean by this? This is from my mom. Why would you? I cut him off flatly. No hidden meaning. Just give it to me again at the engagement banquet tomorrow, in front of everyone. Pei Yufeng looked suspicious, a flicker of unease crossing his eyes. Just as he parted his lips to speak, a nurse outside the ward suddenly shrieked, repeatedly calling for a doctor. Amid the commotion, I faintly caught Li Yingxue's voice. As I looked up, I saw Pei Yufeng's brows furrow. He'd clearly heard it too. Clutching the bracelet, he hesitated only briefly before hurrying toward the door, but at the threshold, he suddenly paused and glanced back at me. "I'll be there for tomorrow's engagement banquet. Yuan, I won't let you down." With those words, he left, staring at the now empty doorway. I let out a soft chuckle. "But you've already betrayed me once, Pei Yufeng, so I won't give you a second chance." The banquet arrived as scheduled. My parents strongly objected to my attendance at first, until I explained it was a farewell party Mrs. Pei had arranged for me. That's when they relented. As my butler wheeled me into the room, I overheard socialites gossiping about Pei Yufeng's gestures for Li Yingxue. Some mocked Pei for being blind, others envied Li's good fortune, while a few pitied me. Childhood sweethearts stand no chance against fate's sudden arrival. The butler's face darkened as he moved to reprimand them, when a socialite in red whispered, "Don't you think Li Yingxue looks strikingly similar to Meng Yuan, especially that crimson beauty mark at the corner of her eye?" I heard Meng Yuan's condition has worsened again. Do you think Pei Yufeng might be using her as a substitute for Meng Yuan? Suddenly, my heart skipped a beat as I remembered my first encounter with Ling Xue that day after her blood draw. She was sitting in the corridor, Pei Yufeng had returned to the office, and a nurse was taking me for some air when we happened upon her. She didn't recognize me, but still flashed me a smile with delicate features. The crimson mole at the corner of her eye danced when she smiled. That day I was spellbound, later joking with my parents. Did you lose my twin sister when I was born? Radiant and vivacious, she bore an uncanny resemblance to how I looked 3 years ago. I never imagined Pei Yufeng would use Ling Xue as my replacement. If that's really the case, how despicable of Pei Yufeng. I'm not even dead yet, and he's already memorializing me. Was it like this in my past life too? But I didn't have to die. Rage washed over me as I clenched my fists, trembling uncontrollably with cold sweat beating on my forehead. My whole body burned with fever again. Blood vessels in my nasal cavity ruptured, sending an unending flow of blood. The butler frantically summoned the accompanying physician while Mrs. Pei desperately tried calling Pei Yufeng, dialing once, twice, but no one picked up. The once elegant banquet descended into chaos within moments. As the ambulance siren grew louder, my eyelids grew heavier. Just as I was about to lose consciousness, a desperate voice whispered in my ear, Yuan, stay alive. For after accompanying Ling Xue through her medical checkup, Pei Yufeng noticed over a dozen missed calls from his mother, his heart lurching in his chest. When he frantically tried calling back, his mother's phone was already switched off. Suddenly checking the time, he realized there were only 30 minutes left before the banquet ended. Without hesitation, he made arrangements for Ling Xue and rushed straight to the venue. After all, this was an engagement banquet. His complete absence would undoubtedly damage Meng Yuan's reputation. He'd already wronged Meng Yuan with the bone marrow incident, and couldn't bear seeing her humiliated because of him again. In his past life, he'd sacrificed everything for Meng Yuan's illness. Never did he expect to be the one who'd have a last-minute change of heart. When he first met Ling Xue, he couldn't care less about identities. Anyone who could save Meng Yuan would do. But gradually, he noticed Ling Xue becoming more and more like Meng Yuan. To be precise, it was Meng Yuan untouched by illness, radiant, vibrant, brimming with life. It had been so long since he'd seen her like this that he couldn't help but grow attached. Reluctant to let go, he feared Ling Xue would wither like a dying flower. One day she might become like Meng Yuan, one day she might die, so he went to find Ling Xue. He asked her, are you truly willing to donate marrow, even if it could lead to splenic rupture or anaphylactic shock? He painted the risks in terrifying terms. Ling Xue hesitated. You see, when faced with life and death, no one is truly selfless, everyone fears death. He gave Ling Xue 3 days to consider. On the final day, Ling Xue sought him out and asked, if I change my mind about the donation, will they make things difficult for me? Will they take back the money and house they gave me? She studied his reaction until he finally spoke. No, but you'll have to stay by my side. I won't give you any official status, just be my lover. Do you agree? Ling Xue nodded. In the end, she stayed with him without a shred of guilt, basking in his affection. He never loved Ling Xue. His heart always belonged to Meng Yuan, and he would never let her die. The doctor suggested continuing conservative treatment, so on the day of the surgery, he took Ling Xue away. No one could have predicted they'd ultimately perish in the earthquake. Fortunately, fate granted him a second chance, more time to make his choice. This time, he wanted not only Meng Yuan to survive, but also Ling Xue to stay. But he never expected Meng Yuan was in trouble. When he arrived at the banquet, all he saw was Mother Pei seated at the head of the table. Mom, wasn't the divorce banquet supposed to end in 10 minutes? Where is everyone? Madame Pei stood up abruptly and slapped him across the face, the sharp crack echoing through the empty banquet hall. So you do remember today was your engagement party with Yuan? Then why did you show up now? Why weren't you answering my calls? Mother Pei's voice trembled with emotion. Her eyes rimmed red. Pei Yufeng's growing unease became evident as his brows knitted tightly. Mom, I didn't mean to. Ling Xue had a sudden hypoglycemic episode yesterday and needs care today. What about Yuan? Don't you know Yuan has already. By the end, Mother Pei's voice was choked with sobs. She covered her face as tears streamed through her fingers, utterly heartbroken. Meng Yuan's death could have been prevented. None of this should have happened. Pei Yufeng's eyes clouded with confusion. He couldn't understand why his mother's emotions had erupted so intensely. Mom, what happened to Yuan? Yuan didn't make it. Pei Yufeng froze abruptly. Pei Yufeng refused to believe it. How could this be possible? He instantly concluded that Mrs. Pei was lying to him and rushed to the hospital. He ran over a dozen red lights along the way, with traffic cops chasing after him, yet showed no intention of slowing down upon arriving. He dashed straight to the fifth-floor ward, where he saw Mrs. Meng sobbing uncontrollably in the hallway. His heart sank bit by bit. He shuffled forward stiffly. The first to spot him was the man by the hospital room door. A towering figure nearing 6'3", his once pristine suit now crumpled, the white shirt still stained with blood. It wasn't hard to imagine the horrifying scene that had just unfolded. The man noticed his gaze and turned around with an eerily blank expression, his face devoid of any emotion, though of Chinese-American heritage. He'd grown up in the same social circles as Pei Yufeng before returning to the States to take over the family business. "So it's you, Lu Hezhou." Lu Hezhou strode forward and, before another word could escape his lips, drove a vicious kick into his abdomen. The sheer force sent Pei Yufeng crashing back first into the wall. He let out a pained grunt. "Who told you to come here?" Lu Hezhou said coldly, biting back the pain. Pei Yufeng straightened up. "I came to see Yuan Yuan." Suddenly, Lu Hezhou gave a mocking chuckle, the hostility in his eyes deepening. "See Yuan Yuan? Who do you think you are to demand that?" "Pei Yufeng, mark my words, you killed Yuan Yuan. The Meng family owns your life now." The color drained from Pei Yufeng's face the moment those words were spoken. Madame Meng caught the commotion too. When she lifted her head, tear stains streaked her entire face. When their eyes met, Pei Yufeng saw pure loathing in her gaze. Only then did the realization fully hit him. So Meng Yuan was truly gone. His mother hadn't lied to him. Meng Yuan died because of him, because of his damned arrogance in the previous life. Meng Yuan still had half a month left. The doctors said even conservative treatment would work, so why did she have to die? Pei Yufeng's legs gave way, and he barely managed to stay upright by bracing against the wall. He couldn't bear to meet Mother Meng's gaze any longer, nor could he stay in that hospital a moment more. In the end, he fled that world in utter disgrace. News of Meng Yuan's passing spread through their social circle, bringing many visitors offering condolences. From childhood, she hadn't just been the Meng family's treasure, she'd been the princess cradled in the palms of countless uncles and elders. When the Meng family learned Pei Yufeng had refused the bone marrow donation on Li Yingshue's behalf, they severed all ties with the Pei clan, though they understood Li had every right to choose. Resentment still took root. The hope Pei Yufeng had kindled was ultimately snuffed out by his own hand. This agony eclipses 1,000-fold the pain of never having hoped at all. Lu Hezhou's family had been close with the Mengs for generations. As their youngest uncle, he doted on Meng Yuan, second only to Pei Yufeng. He handled all the funeral arrangements for Meng Yuan. He arranged the Meng family's emigration, marking their withdrawal from Hong Kong's Big Four elite clans. Mother Pei had come knocking, but was turned away at the door. This went on for 7 straight days. 6 Meanwhile, at the Pei residence, returning empty-handed from the Meng household again, Mother Pei entered to find her son Yufeng sitting blank-eyed on the sofa. Tears began falling unbidden. "Who are you putting on this act for? Isn't this exactly what you wanted to see?" No, I never thought Yuan Yuan would die, Pei." Yufeng's voice was hoarse as he turned to his mother, his eyes gradually reddening. "I thought I could handle it. I believed conservative treatment would be enough, but I never wanted her to die. Mom, what should I do? How do I go on?" His legs finally gave way, and he collapsed to his knees. For 7 days, Meng Yuan's messages pierced his heart like sharp needles. The torment became unbearable. Night after night, he'd jolt awake from nightmares of Yuan Yuan's accusing voice. "Why didn't you save me? Why wouldn't you?" Why indeed, across 2 lifetimes, he'd sacrificed everything to save Meng Yuan, even considered crossing moral boundaries until she stopped him. So why had he been bewitched into protecting Li Yingxue instead? Is it just because Li Yingxue resembles the Meng Yuan from the past? He never imagined that losing Meng Yuan for real would be this unbearable. Suddenly, the villa's doorbell rang. Mother Pei composed herself, wiped away her tears, and went to answer, only to see the last person she wanted to meet, Li Yingxue. She was dressed adorably in head-to-toe luxury, with a necklace worth 3 million yuan around her neck. "She's changed so much in just 3 months. Auntie, I came to see Yufeng. He hasn't replied to my messages for 7 days. I'm worried." "Who told you to come here?" Pei Yufeng's icy voice cut through the living room. Li Yingxue shivered involuntarily, a chill running down her spine. She'd never seen this side of Pei Yufeng before. When they first met, though aloof, he'd always been impeccably proper, but now, he seemed like a completely different person. "I wasn't going to look for you, yet you dare come to me." Pei Yufeng spoke through gritted teeth, his tone clearly unhinged. Madame Pei frowned and opened her mouth to speak, but Pei Yufeng had already reached the doorway. In one swift motion, he seized Li Yingxue by the throat and slammed her against the foyer wall. "Why are you here?" he growled. "Shouldn't you be in the hospital?" Weren't you at the hospital then? Why didn't you save Yuan when she was in trouble? Aren't you supposed to be kind? Why wouldn't you donate marrow? Why wouldn't you save my Yuan? Why didn't you save her? He interrogated her frantically, his eyes bloodshot. Li Yingshua's face flushed crimson from suffocation, her expression terrified as she desperately pleaded for mercy, struggling to pry Pei Yufeng's hands away, yet his strength kept growing uncontrollably. Mother Pei tried to separate them, only to be confronted by Pei Yufeng's agonized accusation. Mom, are you taking her side? She killed Yuan. She refused to save her. Yuan died because of her. Bled out so much. In my dreams she keeps asking why I didn't save her. Why? Tears streamed endlessly down his face, leaving glistening trails. Waves of torment crashed over him, driving him to the brink of madness. No, he's already lost his mind. Mother Pei watched Pei Yufeng with aching heart. She'd long realized his love for Meng Yuan never wavered, but when one's trapped in their own delusions, no outside counsel can reach them. He needed to crash into that wall himself, only this time, the price was far too steep. Yufeng, if you don't let go now, she'll die for real. Pei Yufeng remained unmoved as Li Yingshua's breath grew fainter until Mother Pei spoke again. Yufeng, the Meng family is leaving, they're immigrating to America. But we owe the Mengs a life debt, that can't be erased, it must be repaid. Yuan is gone, but her parents remain. You must fulfill her filial duties for her. Pei Yufeng's hands froze mid-motion. Seeing his dazed expression, Li Yingxue immediately shoved him away before breaking into violent coughs. This was the closest she'd ever come to death. She glared at Pei Yufeng with resentment. He was the one who'd talked her out of donating marrow. Why should she bear all the blame in the end? Pei Yufeng, now that they're dead, you're putting on this act of devotion. This mess is entirely your own selfish doing. I bear no responsibility for it. I was willing to donate back then. You're the one who stopped me. Without waiting for his response, she turned and hurried out of the Pei residence. Pei Yufeng slid down the wall and collapsed onto the floor, utterly drained. It's all his fault. If given another chance, he wouldn't make the same mistake again, but fate won't be kind to him anymore. 2 weeks later, United States. The surgery went smoothly. The doctor emerged from the operating room and said these words while removing his mask. After 5 agonizing hours of waiting at the door, Lu Hezhou's tense nerves finally relaxed, his eyes involuntarily welling up. His assistant standing beside him tactfully lowered her head. Pretend not to see anything. 2 weeks ago, after Li Yingxue refused to donate marrow, he immediately expanded his search for matching donors. When he heard there might be a lead in Germany, however slim the chance, he boarded the next flight out. But he never expected that upon rushing back to Harbor City, Meng Yuan would relapse, this time triggered by emotional distress. By sheer luck, fate didn't claim her this time. In her half-conscious state, Meng Yuan mustered the strength to tell him, "Don't let Pei Yufeng find me, leave Harbor City, even if you have to declare me dead." Her words dripped with despair and anguish, so he complied. Together with Meng's parents, they staged an elaborate ruse to fake her death in Harbor City. He had Meng Yuan rushed to the States overnight while coordinating the transplant arrangements. He simultaneously handled domestic affairs. Now at last, everything was finally over. He texted Meng's mother to reassure her, then went to check on Meng Yuan. Now that Meng Yuan had chosen him, he would never let her return to Pei Yufeng's side. Though the same age as Pei Yufeng, he'd also treated Meng Yuan like a princess since childhood, only with slightly higher seniority in their family hierarchy. Meng Yuan never warmed up to him much. He'd never considered competing with Pei Yufeng before, because Pei Yufeng and Meng Yuan were childhood sweethearts, deeply in love, bound by engagement. He knew Pei was giving his all to cherish her. He witnessed it all firsthand, yet he never imagined Pei Yufeng would change, nearly costing Meng Yuan her life. When Lu Hezhou entered the ICU, I was already awake but couldn't speak through the ventilator. He tenderly caressed my face with aching heart. The surgery was successful, but we still need to monitor your condition. I've already brought your parents to the States. They'll be here to see you soon. I nodded as warm tears streamed from the corners of my eyes. I knew Lu Hezhou had been working tirelessly this whole time. He could have easily walked away. Though our families were old acquaintances, we weren't particularly close, yet he handled every single matter with impeccable organization, even comforting my parents. My mother developed lingering anxiety after Li Yingshue's last-minute change of heart. Before every surgery, she'd anxiously ask Lu Hezhou, "Nothing will go wrong, right?" She won't back out, over and over, sometimes calling Lu Hezhou in the middle of the night after nightmares to ask him. Lu Hezhou never showed impatience, answering my mother's questions earnestly every single time. Actually, except for my parents, Lu Hezhou was scared too. We all were, but thankfully, we made it through this time. I won't end up dying on that cold operating table like in my past life. 6 months later, I applied to universities in the U.S. I had to drop out of grad school due to illness before, but now I finally get to return to campus. My father and Lu Hezhou became business partners, bringing our families much closer. My mom privately asked me, "Do you have any feelings for Lu Hezhou? You may call him uncle, but there's no actual blood relation between our families. If you're interested in him, you could give it a try." I smiled and declined. 2 years later, I graduated with my master's degree. Lu Hezhou and my parents came to my graduation ceremony. An upperclassman took photos of us and posted them on social media, which somehow reached Pei Yufeng. The moment he learned I was still alive, he appeared before me that very night. After dinner, my father asked me to see Lu Hezhou out. Just as we stepped out of the courtyard, I spotted Pei Yufeng under the streetlight. His elongated shadow made him almost unrecognizable. That once vibrant face now had sharply protruding cheekbones, hollowed cheeks, and an unhealthy ashen complexion, as if dusted with a thin layer of grime. Yuan, you're really alive." After a long silence, he spoke in a hoarse voice. Lu Hezhou instinctively frowned and stepped in front of me. "Mr. Pei, isn't it rather inappropriate to disturb someone at this late hour?" The moment those words left his mouth, pure hatred flashed in Pei Yufeng's eyes. "Lu Hezhou, who do you think you're fooling? You lied to me years ago about Yuan's death when you'd actually hidden her away, hiding in America. You make me sick. If it weren't for you, Yuan and I wouldn't have been separated this long." Lu Hezhou let out a cold laugh and was about to mock him when I discreetly tugged at his sleeve. "It's getting late. Maybe you should head back. Night driving isn't safe." He turned to look at me, trying to get rid of me. "Want to whisper sweet nothings with Pei Yufeng?" I immediately shook my head and said obediently, "No. I just don't want you wasting time getting too involved with Pei Yufeng." My voice was neither loud nor soft. Pei Yufeng paled instantly upon hearing it, while Lu Hezhou was visibly pleased. The corners of his lips curled slightly, his eyes softening with warmth. "That's true, but I'm more than willing to handle the trouble for you." Suddenly, I forced a stiff smile. Some people just can't resist pushing their luck. Yuan, I know you're still upset about the Ling Shui incident. I handled that poorly. I'm begging you. I'll kneel, I'll grovel, I'll do anything you want, just don't leave me, please. Pei Yufeng took 2 steps forward, his tone laced with humility. Now he resembled a marionette on the verge of collapse, barely maintaining his stance with a few fragile strings. Over the years, snippets of news about him would occasionally reach my ears. He drove Ling Shui away, clawing back every penny he'd spent on her, for what couldn't be recovered. He forced her to sign IOUs and repay the debts. In his eyes, my death had nothing to do with him. It was all because Ling Shui changed her mind at the last moment. Pei Yufeng shifted all the blame onto her. Some old friends from our circle said Pei Yufeng developed delusions, constantly believing I was still alive, sometimes talking to thin air or grinning at nothing. At dinners, he'd tell them, Yuan's waiting for me to come home, there's a curfew, so no drinks tonight. He'd even talk to disconnected numbers right in front of them. Completely absorbed in his own world, everyone thought Pei Yufeng had lost his mind, yet he managed the Pei group with ruthless efficiency, and beyond that, charted new business frontiers. 9. After a long silence, I finally said, "No." The light in Pei Yufeng's eyes dimmed gradually as he stared at me, his lips cracked and pale. My heart ached unbearably. The pain was like a scorching iron weight crushing my chest, each heartbeat a dull knife tearing through flesh, leaving everything in tatters. His lips trembled. "Why, Yuan, do you have any idea what these 2 years have been like for me? How desperately I wanted to find you, but my mother said, I owe your main family a life, that I should fulfill your filial duties in your place. I transferred all my personal assets to your parents' account, but they refused it. They refused to see me, they hate me, they won't accept my apologies. I begged my mom to let me go. The pain is unbearable. Every time I tried to end it, she found me before I could reach you. Time after time, she's pulled me back from death's door, and I resent her for it. Why could she save me now, but not you back then? I've been lashing out at everyone like a madman, but deep down, I know the truth. The one who's truly at fault is me." His breathing grew labored, as if his lungs were filled with molten lead, each gasp sending searing pain through his entire being. His voice trembled uncontrollably as he spoke. He desperately tried to reach me, yet remained agonizingly out of reach. In the end, he could only stop in his tracks. Yuan, I'm begging you. Please forgive me just this once, okay?" His face was now drenched in tears, looking as pitiful as a worm. Lu Hezhou looked down at me, but I remained completely unresponsive. My feelings for Pei Yufeng, whether over these brief 2 years or during those fleeting 10 minutes of rebirth, had vanished. I watched him kneel for Ling Xue, watched him cut off my last hope of survival. I've already learned to let go. I'm sorry, I can't do this. With that, I summoned the butler to escort Lu Hezhou and Pei Yufeng out for me. But Pei Yufeng refused to leave, clutching my clothes desperately as he shook his head like a madman. Yuan, don't be so cruel to me. Without you, I can't go on living like this. Had I never seen hope, perhaps I could have muddled through life, but now, indeed, had you never seen hope, I interjected flatly. In an instant, Pei Yufeng looked as if the soul had been drained from him. I asked again, now do you understand my pain, and my parents' anguish? How could 20 years of our bond mean less than your 3 months with Ling Xue? Pei's mother had also come to America. She offered me a sincere apology, which I accepted, though truthfully, this matter concerned neither her nor the Pei family. She forcibly brought Pei Yufeng back to Hong Kong. After returning, his delusional disorder worsened significantly, making daily life nearly impossible. In the end, Mrs. Pei had no choice but to commit him to a psychiatric hospital for treatment. After Pei Yufeng left, Lu Hezhou confessed his feelings to me. I turned him down, but he just smiled and said, I don't need an answer now. Just know I've loved you for a long time. I can't pinpoint when it began, maybe earlier than Pei Yufeng, maybe later. By the time I realized it, there was no turning back. His love grew uncontrollably, and fearing he couldn't restrain himself, he chose to return to America only after coming of age. But now, he sees an opportunity. I must seize it, and I will. He promised to love me forever, but promises are too fragile. Pei Yufeng is living proof of that. Perhaps in the future, I'll end up with Lu Hezhou, or maybe I'll build a new life with someone else. But now, those unlived lives I never had the chance to fully experience in my past existence, the callings I never got to pursue, my rebirth matters infinitely more than romance ever could. In the spring of my 5th year, an email arrived. It was from Pei Yufeng, pages of apologies culminating in one final question, have you returned to? I deleted the email without replying. The following week came news of Pei Yufeng's suicide. By then, I'd officially taken over the main conglomerate with a bright future ahead. The end. Story 2. When his family was on the verge of bankruptcy, he proposed a marriage alliance and became the model husband. But after he learned I'd once had a crush on him, he personally orchestrated my family's financial ruin. He became convinced I'd used the arranged marriage to blackmail him into leaving his true love. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at the moment he came to propose our political marriage. I smiled. No, love outweighs political gains. May you and your beloved enjoy eternal happiness. 1. Darling, are you absolutely certain about this? Gu Xingji knelt before me on one knee, his eyes filled with stunned disbelief. Just a minute ago, I'd turned down his proposal to spend our lives together. Seeing his lingering hope, I nodded resolutely. I've made up my mind. Love matters more than profit. May you and Shen Nua have a lifetime of happiness. Both sets of parents were as stunned as Gu Xingji, unable to believe their ears. They all thought I had feelings for Gu Xingji just because he mentioned liking girls with edge. I chopped off my black hair and dyed it silver gray. Since he loved watching soccer, I pulled all-nighters cramming football knowledge until I could rattle off every star player and major tournament. I learned to code and developed software just to help him snag limited edition sneakers after he got into collecting them. So when the Gu family, on the verge of bankruptcy, proposed an arranged marriage with our family, my parents hesitated. Bailing out the Gus would mean staking our entire family fortune, but they believed our decades-long friendship with the Gu family meant Gu Xingji would undoubtedly protect me for life. My parents cherished me and wanted to support my pursuit of love, so they neither refused nor consented, leaving the final decision in my hands. In my past life, I chose to gamble it all, staking my parents' lifelong savings on Gu Xingji's conscience. They say the house always wins, yet I foolishly believed I was that 1 in a million exception. When we first married, Gu Xingji was the model husband. No matter how busy with work, he'd always be home by 10 p.m. to keep me company. However packed his social calendar, he'd notify me in advance and voluntarily video call for check-ins. Though women constantly threw themselves at him, he never once crossed the line. His WeChat profile picture is of me, and his moments cover is our photo together. I used to think I was happier than the heroine in a romance novel until one day, when he found out I had a crush on him and called me a jealous shrew. He was convinced Shen Nua broke up with him because I was using the arranged marriage as leverage. With calculated precision, he bankrupted my parents and converted all marital assets into his personal fortune. By the Time I realized what had happened, everything was gone. All that remained was the diamond ring he gave me during our arranged marriage. I pawned it at a second-hand market for just 2,500 yuan. That's when it hit me why merchants love equating love with diamond rings, because they're both jokes that depreciate at lightning speed. Later, when my father needed a kidney transplant, it cost 300,000 yuan. I went begging to Gu Xingji. He commanded with an air of superiority, "On your knees." I complied numbly. He had his driver fetch 300,000 in cash, then dangled the money bag before my eyes. "Want it?" I nodded and reached out my hand, only to be kicked to the ground by Gu Xingji. Moments later, he strode into the bar carrying a suitcase full of cash. He stuffed the money into the hands of scantily clad dancers, living like an emperor for the night, and my father took his last breath the following day. He said he'd rather feed the money to dogs than give it to me. He said I disgust him. He claimed he could have weathered the storm without the Wen family's help, so when I was reborn, I turned down the arranged marriage. I want to see how Gu Xingji plans to bridge that massive funding gap on his own too. My connection with Gu Xingji began the year we were born. We were born in the same hospital and shared the same ward. I was born just one day after Gu Xingji. I was a well-behaved child from the start, with minimal needs, just eating and sleeping in cycles, rarely fussing. Gu Xingji, on the other hand, was a high-maintenance baby, the complete opposite of me. His exhausted mother looked at mine with envy and sighed, "Qingqing is such an angel, if only she could join our family someday." The two families gradually grew closer day by day. In the second year of the new millennium, China joined the WTO. Sharp-witted entrepreneurs smelled opportunity, with many quitting government jobs to start businesses. This included both my parents and Gu Xingji's. Startup founders are constantly spinning like tops, sometimes not coming home for 2 weeks straight. Gu Xingji and I could only grow up slowly together, keeping each other company. We cooked noodles together when hungry, only to end up burning the pot. Pinching his nose, Gu Xingji said, "No worries, I'll eat anything Qingqing cooks." Yet I couldn't help but frown. We had no choice but to put down our chopsticks and rummage through the laundry for change, scraping together every last coin. We barely managed 4 yuan. The wonton vendor smiled and slipped an extra egg into our bowls. For many years, those late-night wontons remained the most delicious food in my memory. Sometimes Gu Xingji would miss his parents so much that he'd cry out loud. Whenever he cried, I'd start crying too. The moment I cried, he'd stop. He said, "Don't be afraid, darling. I'm here with you." When our parents' careers were still struggling, we had very little pocket money. Gu Xingji would save up for ages to buy a big cake at midnight on his birthday. He'd light the candles. "Let's celebrate our birthdays together." Our English teacher showed us the movie Flipped. Watching the main couple in the film reminded me of Gu Xingji and me. Back then I didn't really understand what love meant, but I really admired the female lead, feeling this vague urge to be as brave as her. So I bought the sneakers he liked and tucked a love letter inside. Just as I was about to hand it to him, Shen Nua burst onto the scene. She threw her arms around Gu Xingji and planted a big kiss on him. Gu Xingji flushed crimson as the group next to them burst into laughter. Shen Nua said sheepishly, "Sorry, classmate, I'm playing truth or dare." Then she quickly ran back. Perhaps those who've lived too quietly all crave excitement. That kiss lingered on Gu Xingji's lips, and later I inexplicably caught a whiff of jealousy emanating from him. He confessed he hadn't washed his face for 5 straight days, couldn't bear to wipe it away. After what felt like forever, he finally tracked down Shen Nua's full name, address, and QQ number. After that, he stopped accompanying me to piano practice, no more dog walks together, and abandoned teaching me soccer. He took up skateboarding for Shen Nua, grew out his hair the way she liked, and even got into fights defending her. When Shen Nua's parents were going through their divorce, he held her gently in his arms. "Don't be scared, Nuonuo, I'll always be here for you." 3. Shen Nua never pushed me away. It was me who gradually drifted apart from Gu Xingji. Shen Nua introduced him to a whole new social circle. I discovered a side of him I never knew existed. Not only does he enjoy watching games, but he also loves placing bets before matches. The group was enthusiastically discussing odds, stakes, and rebates. I can't follow along. All that soccer knowledge I tutored him on seems useless now. If it doesn't click, don't force it. But sometimes I think Gu Xingji's thrill-seeking is just hardwired in his DNA. Shen Nua was merely the catalyst. Our family runs a restaurant business. My parents always say we must never compromise our integrity for money. That's why we only use the freshest ingredients. We strictly comply with all national hygiene and fire safety regulations. My parents always paid the restaurant staff's social insurance and housing fund on time, with salaries comparable to white-collar office workers. Every time Gu Xingji's father came over for dinner, he'd scoff at my dad's approach. "Old Wen, you're being such a pedant about this, pay employees too much, and they'll Lose their drive to work hard, Dad chuckled and said, people need real support from their parents. Empty promises won't put food on the table. Gusingji's father also suggested we should grease some palms and pull strings to get the inspectors off our backs. That way we could cut major corners on fire safety and hygiene regulations. He preached what he practiced. He hired top-tier professionals to cook the books, conceal debt risks, and inflate the company's repayment capacity. Loan after loan came pouring in. Then he used those loans to buy land and develop properties, raking in massive profits. The migrant workers were paid meager wages, sometimes going unpaid for 2 or 3 years. Our parents started from the same position, and my family actually had more initial capital, but in nearly 20 years, my family only managed to open 5 chain restaurants. Meanwhile, the Gu family has become a renowned real estate developer in the entire city. Gusingji's father has a knack for turning small investments into big returns. A single weak link can bring the whole system crashing down. Take the Gu family for example. They paid top dollar for a plot of land 6 months ago. Rumor has it they bribed an insider for intel about future government plans to develop a tech hub there. Property values would skyrocket, netting them a massive profit. It wasn't until the government announcement came out that something felt off. The tech park was planned for the south side of town, while the land he bought was in the north. Turns out it was just a scheme by that company that had acquired the land earlier, trying to offload it in an instant. The Gu family's finances hit a snag. When it rains, it pours. Another construction site had an accident where a worker broke his leg. The Gu family thought they could brush it off like before by paying a measly 10,000 or 20,000 yuan, but this is the internet age. The worker's family knew how to go viral on Douyin. They filed a formal complaint against the Gu family with their IDs, and the scandal quickly trended. The project got shut down. A quick calculation showed it would take all 5 of our family's chain restaurants plus my parents' life savings just to cover the shortfall. But Gusingji saw it differently. He thought it was just a minor hiccup, no different in essence from the routine challenges every business owner faces. We'll just have to wait and see. My parents had no idea about what happened in my past life, for they were puzzled by my sudden dislike for Gusingji. I remembered how my father looked when he was bedridden in my past life. The once robust and energetic man now had sunken eyes and a gaunt appearance. In the end, he didn't even have the strength to cry out in pain. A sudden urge to cry welled up inside me. Mom, Dad, I'm not ready for marriage yet. I'm grown up now. Would you let me help with the family business? Father's illness was, in a way, brought on by overwork. They've carried guilt for years over not being around much when I was young. After the business stabilized, they went all out to make it up to me. I'm already 23, and Mom still buys me kids' toothpaste. She wants me to stay her little princess forever, but I know they're secretly hoping someone will take over the family business. After all, Dad's not just running a business, he's pursuing his culinary dream. My words left him so flustered he could barely speak. Yes, absolutely. Tomorrow I'll show you around properly. I shook my head. No, tomorrow we're going for a medical checkup. Many illnesses are actually quite treatable if caught early. My parents smiled with relief. Our little one's grown up now. We'll follow your lead. In my past life, Father passed away at Second Hospital, where he also had his checkups. I've been feeling quite anxious and fearful inside, but the results weren't too bad, just some minor hypertension issues for both parents. Dad's condition is more serious though. The doctor told me, you should get your father to cut back on alcohol. I solemnly replied, mission accomplished. Dad chuckled and promised to quit hard liquor for good. Rice wine and fruit wine are still fair game for occasional indulgence. We stopped by a famous street food stall near the hospital on our way out. Dad held back for a moment, then just ordered a soy milk. Mid-meal, we ran into Gusingji reeking of alcohol. He shot me a wounded look. Nuonuo's gone to America. I feel hollow inside. Have a drink with me? I declined with a smile. It was much the same in my past life. Just days after the Gu family proposed the marriage alliance, Shenhua left for America officially. It was because her father fell ill and she needed to care for him while pursuing further studies. Not a single flaw could be found by others, but that wasn't actually the case. Shenhua, being a finance major, knew exactly how dire the Gu family's situation was. With no one to plug the financial holes, bankruptcy had become an inevitable reality. It's just not been said outright. Gusingji still hasn't come to terms with reality. She craves stability and comfort, unwilling to gamble on the Gu family's potential comeback. In a way, I think that's only human nature. Can't blame her. But in our past life, Gusingji resented me for half a lifetime. He believed I'd used the arranged marriage as leverage, forcing Shenhua into exile abroad to drift through half his life. But this time I said no. Who else could he possibly blame now? Running a restaurant may seem simple, but there's actually profound knowledge behind it. 5. I decided to start with the Most fundamental step, ingredient sourcing. My father patiently guided me, taking me to wet markets and vegetable greenhouses. I learned both how to select premium produce and how to communicate with farmer vendors. These folks are hardworking and genuine, though occasionally a bit crafty. How to avoid being tripped up by their craftiness without hurting mutual goodwill. That's an art in itself, I learned earnestly. And Dad taught with joy. Days passed uneventfully, and we'd nearly forgotten about the Gu family's troubles. That all changed when we saw Gu Xingji surrounded by construction workers after returning from the market. Only then did we realize how dire the Gu family's situation had become. 5 laborers dragged Gu Xingji out of his car, accusing the Gu family of being shameless scoundrels. They still haven't received their wages from 2 years ago. The elderly at home can't afford medicine, and the children can't go to school. After seeing this, Dad shook his head and said, "Uncle Gu used to say I was foolish for withholding half a year's wages. Even just parking that money in the bank would have earned decent interest." I warned him against it, but he wouldn't listen. Now look what's happened. He pulled out his bank card, ready to withdraw cash to pay the migrant workers what they were owed. Dad came from humble beginnings. He grew up relying on the kindness of neighbors to put food on the table. The money for college was pooled together by the whole village. I knew he wasn't just helping those migrant workers, he was also helping his younger, helpless self. For secure document watermarking, choose Xiao Hu Bot, reliable, stable, and hassle-free. No output as the provided text is empty or contains only a non-printing character. But Gu Xingji knew none of this. With shining eyes, he said to his father, "Thanks, Uncle Wen." Then he added, "It's just a small sum. I'll pay you back the day after tomorrow." I sighed. He still hadn't realized his own limitations. I reached out to stop Dad. I feel for those migrant workers' hardships, but their situation wasn't caused by my family. I withdrew 2,500 yuan from the ATM and split it among 5 workers. "Fellas, could you help me with a job? Kick this bastard 3 times, spit on him 3 times, and the money's yours." The migrant workers looked bewildered, but they already held a grudge against the Gu family. Now they could vent their anger and get paid. Why would they refuse? So I dragged my bewildered father away as Gu Xingji's screams echoed behind us. Dad asked in confusion, "Ching Ching, what exactly did he do to you?" "What did he do to me?" Suddenly I remembered the calico cat I'd adopted in my past life after Gu Xingji turned against me. Only it stayed by my side. Later it fell ill and needed 2,500 yuan for treatment. Gu Xingji took out 2,500 yuan in cash and rounded up 5 passing delinquent teens. "Beat up this ugly woman and her ugly cat, and the money's yours." The calico cat took its last breath in my arms. It let out a faint meow before passing away. Just thinking about it makes my eyes well up with tears. Sensing something was wrong, Dad quickly pulled me aside and said, "All right, I'll stop asking. Anyone who makes our sweetheart angry is a villain." Mom mentioned there's a new custom tailoring shop that just opened. 6. The owner studied in Italy and has great taste. She practically dragged me in to try it out. I was reluctant at first, feeling like I was being taken for a ride. It's not even a top-tier brand. Why's it so pricey? But when the finished piece arrived, I was totally sold. The coat-structured silhouette is super flattering, and the color makes my skin glow. The owner thoughtfully included a letter detailing the fabric composition and care instructions. I couldn't put it down. Later, I received a call from the owner, Ji Yanli. He mentioned casually browsing through photos of previously completed garments during his free time. "The bottom button on my coat is off by half a centimeter. They offered a refund or alterations if I bring the coat in. I never button up when wearing an overcoat. That minor misalignment doesn't matter at all." But Boss G was so earnest in his pleas that I had no choice but to agree after his repeated requests. Watching him meticulously cut the fabric reminded me of how my parents used to work. Every dish in our family restaurant has been personally tasted by them. How could we possibly serve customers something we wouldn't even dare to eat ourselves? Before I knew it, I was smiling at what I saw. Boss G touched his face. "Do I have rice on my face? My aunt's visiting. Come with me later to take her measurements so we can make her an outfit too." I shook my head. Boss G happily agreed and came home with me. Along the way, he shared countless stories about Italy with me. He described it as a land where art and pickpockets coexist. Those magnificent artworks are truly priceless legacies. Tourists become so mesmerized that they let their guard down, giving thieves the perfect opportunity to strike. I asked him, would I get beaten up if I went there to sell pineapple pizza? He chuckled, but before he could answer, we ran straight into Gu Xingji and his mother. Watching Boss G and me chatting cheerfully, a flicker of complicated emotions passed through Gu Xingji's eyes. Was it resentment or disappointment? I don't know, but I do know he never told his parents about being beaten by the migrant workers. Otherwise, given his mother's temper, she'd never have calmly brought up the marriage. Alliance again, my stance remains the same, emotions outweigh benefits. May Gu Xingji win his beloved's heart and grow old together with his soulmate. Gu Xingji's mother froze momentarily. She cradled a box filled with aged keepsakes in her arms. Sitting on our sofa, she began unpacking the items one by one. Darling, look at this photo. You were both 8 years old back then. See that scar on Xingji's forehead? He got it falling while picking cherries for you. Then she brought out a white chiffon dress. Xingji bought this for you when he was 7, saying he wanted you to wear it as his bride. There's also that group photo of our two families at the summit of Mount Tai after the high school entrance exams, she asked. Remember how we said we'd climb Huashan and Huangshan together someday? I nodded. I remember it all. I'm truly grateful for all the care you've shown me in the past. To repay your kindness, I'd be happy to cover Xingji's flight to America to help him win. Shenhua back. Shenhua just went abroad, not to another planet. It's not like China and the US have severed diplomatic ties or cancelled flights. No need to turn this into some dramatic farewell scene like those cliché romance novel protagonists. Right, Gu Xingji and his mother locked eyes in wordless silence. Of course, I'm not about to be the sucker in this deal. With all those unfinished construction projects the Gu family left behind, he's long been barred from leaving the country. Ours is a society changing at breakneck speed. 7 In business, if you fall behind even slightly, you'll get crushed by the competition. On my 25th birthday, my parents opened their 6th chain restaurant. They handed over full operational control to me. I gave it my all, terrified of tarnishing the reputation my parents had built over decades. Fortunately, it worked out well. I adopted a strategy that blends tradition with innovation. We've managed to retain our loyal regulars while also drawing in a younger crowd. I tried to ignore the Gu family affairs, but their constant media presence made it impossible. Without our family's support, the Gu household collapsed completely. In under 2 years, the once renowned real estate tycoon became a prisoner in shackles. Shoddy construction, unpaid wages, and assaults on protesting migrant workers. Any single one of these scandals would be enough to ruin the Gu family. Gu Xingji cut a pathetic figure during his arrest, screaming protests of innocence. He claimed that given a few more years, he'd surely be able to clean up this mess. His arrogance and ignorance made me laugh. In our past life, his family survived the crisis not just because of my family's financial support but more importantly, because of the Wen family's wholehearted assistance helped him navigate various relationships and pacify the workers. What he considered trivial actually carried immense weight. Frankly, arresting him might have been for his own protection. Otherwise, he might have ended up stabbed in broad daylight by furious owners of unfinished properties. Prison may lack freedom, but at least safety isn't an issue. Ji Yanli's tailoring business has grown rapidly. Appointments now require a 3-month wait, but he said I'm an exception, available at a moment's notice. He also mentioned he's already shared many stories about his time in Italy. Could you tell me about what happened when I was little? And that box belonging to Gu Xingji's mother? I nodded and began recounting the story. Strangely enough, back when Shenhua and Gu Xingji were inseparable, remembering those events would always feel like a knife twisting in my heart, but now I speak of it with detachment, as if it were someone else's story rather than my own. On my 26th birthday, I held a modest wedding ceremony. Only our closest friends and family were invited. I simply wanted to announce my new chapter in life to them. No need for awkward performances in front of strangers. At the wedding, I asked, someone once stayed by my side for so long, does that bother you? He nodded. It does, but I'm not angry, because from now on, I'll be with you even longer. Then we kissed before everyone's eyes. The morning after the wedding, Mom woke up in a flustered state. She kept staring at her husband and murmured, thank goodness it's not Gu Xingji, not Gu Xingji. She said she'd had a terrifying nightmare. I dreamed we staked our entire family fortune to help the Gus, only to end up with our household destroyed and loved ones lost. She asked if I'd had the same nightmare, which made me reject the marriage alliance with the Gu family. I gently hugged Mother, told her not to worry, it was just a bad dream, but I knew it wasn't a dream. It was something I had truly experienced in my past life. I had a period of happiness after marrying Gu Xingji. One day I realized there was too much clutter at home. It was time to declutter. I gathered up a bunch of old keepsakes, even found those sneakers and love letters meant for my confession. Lost in thought reading those naive yet heartfelt words, didn't even notice Gu Xingji entering the room. He snatched it away, his face darkening as he finished reading. Well, Wen Qing, so you've had feelings for me all along. You're disgusting. Was it you who forced Nono abroad by threatening her with an arranged marriage? No matter how I tried to explain, he wouldn't listen and stormed out with a scowl. I was ready to face the storm, yet he returned with a calm expression, even bringing my favorite bubble tea. For a moment, I thought he'd finally let Shenhua go. Little did I know, He was brewing an even more terrifying tempest. I've always wanted a daughter, to be there for her and make up for what I missed in my own childhood, yet fate never granted me that wish. With a heavy heart, I went to see the doctor. The doctor gave me this strange look. Like I was some kind of fool. He asked me how I could possibly get pregnant while taking birth control pills every day. Perplexed, I lay in bed pondering this for hours. After returning home, my heart skipped a beat when I noticed the vitamin bottle on the nightstand, yet I couldn't bring myself to believe it. Yes, I was being rather foolish. After the Gu family weathered the crisis, they bought back the restaurant and gifted it to my parents. Gu Xingji employed these very tactics at my father's restaurant. He hired people to sneak into the kitchen and contaminate the food with laxatives, cockroaches, and rat tails. Dad's restaurant was involved in a major food safety incident. Gu Xingji even hired people to post inflammatory content online, claiming Dad's restaurant had always operated that way. My parents and I endured unprecedented cyberbullying. During that period, we kept receiving harassing phone calls, either keep silent or start hurling abuse outright. Tens of thousands of netizens were kept completely in the dark under the guise of justice. They sent funeral wreaths, burial garments, and urns to my home. During that period, my parents dared not return home or even turn on their phones. Suffering from neurasthenia, Mom lost nearly 30 pounds in a month. Meanwhile, Gu Xingji's mother remained pampered and impeccably maintained. In desperation, Gu Xingji reappeared before my parents wearing his model son-in-law mask, claiming he could smooth things over for us. They tricked us into signing the agreement, completely draining our family's resources. Not a single penny of the marital assets remained tied to me. Only after accomplishing this did he finally drop the facade, making no effort to conceal his disgust toward me. He said my very scent made him nauseous. He said my life isn't worth a single strand of Shen Nua's hair. He called our Wen family shameless, saying we'd exploit a minor favor to control him for life. Perhaps that was the moment my heart died. In the second year of our marriage, my daughter was born. 9. I always thought babies were supposed to be soft, smooth, and milky white. When the nurse handed me that wrinkly little bundle, I almost thought she'd made a mistake. Mom just smiled and patted my cheek. She said I looked exactly the same when I was born. Don't worry if the baby looks a bit funny at first, they'll grow into their looks in no time, just like me. My daughter was an easygoing angel baby with minimal demands. She just ate, slept, and repeated, hardly ever fussed or cried. Mom was on high alert during those first few days at the hospital, afraid of running into another weird auntie who's obsessed with angelic babies. Yanli refused to let some random brats monopolize his daughter's childhood. We instantly agreed. No matter how busy, we'd come home daily to hug and kiss her. Kids grow up way too fast, changing almost overnight. By age 3, she'd transformed from a little angel into a tiny terror. Even the best behaved pets in the neighborhood would bolt at the sight of her. The little one pouted and begged me for a puppy. I carried her to the pet store, never expecting to run into Gu Xingji's mother along the way. She froze for a long moment after seeing my daughter, then finally managed to say, I thought my old eyes were playing tricks on me. It's like seeing your childhood self again. She wasn't deeply involved in company affairs, so she didn't go in. It's just a spending restriction, nothing more. She wore baggy, cheap sportswear, her silver hair clearly visible. She reached out to hug my daughter, but the child turned away and buried her face in my arms. Mommy, what do we call someone even older than Grandma? Gu Xingji's mother touched her own face as she asked me, or perhaps she was asking herself, have I really grown this old? I'm a woman too. I understand that sorrow and dread when time slips through your fingers, but right now, I couldn't muster an ounce of sympathy for her. In my past life, mother followed father to the grave the very next day after he passed. After all these years of friendship, she didn't show an ounce of sadness. She sneered that mom was too emotionally fragile to handle anything. She even made snide remarks about my family's inferior genes being the reason we couldn't conceive. I pushed those chaotic thoughts aside and said nonchalantly, kids say the darndest things, please don't take it to heart. Those who used to fawn over the Gu family have long since kept their distance. Even some close relatives stopped keeping in touch with her. Running into an old acquaintance, she simply couldn't stop chattering away, kept pulling my sleeve while rambling about old times, said I used to adore their sweet and sour pork ribs as a kid, mentioned how her relative's cat had kittens during her hometown visit, and she tried bringing one for me only for it to escape on the way back. Also recalled how during their early startup days, she and Mom would often split a single meal box to save money. The conversation somehow shifted to Gu Xingji. They said Gu was originally sentenced to 7 years, but got additional time for fighting in prison. They even showed me Gu Xingji's photo. Though he'd just turned 30, he looked a good decade older. You've gotten darker and thinner. My daughter looked disgusted, saying Mom had no taste as a kid to play with someone so unattractive. I chuckled while pinching her cheek. telling her it's wrong to judge people by appearances, but she might not be entirely wrong. I thought I'd never cross paths with Gu Xingji again in this lifetime. 10 Until my 35th birthday, when I accompanied my daughter to a legal awareness lecture. The school places great emphasis on cultivating students' legal awareness, with speakers including not just legal experts but also well-behaved inmates who shared their experiences. Of course, to avoid scaring the children, they were all white-collar criminals, no violent offenders. It never crossed my mind that Gu Xingji would be among them. Perhaps the extended sentence finally made him face reality and abandon his pipe dreams. Speaking into the microphone, he laid bare every last one of the Gu family's misdeeds. He told the kids that whether they work a job or run a business in the future, they must always be honest and keep a clear conscience. It sounded like standard corporate speak, but coming from him, it felt oddly out of place. What was even stranger was how he fell into a long silence after seeing me. He ended by telling the children to cherish those who treat them well. In the brief moment as he boarded the prison transport, our eyes met. I leaned close to his ear and whispered, "Shenhua has returned." He responded indifferently with a simple, In their past life, Shenhua had also returned to the country on this very day. Her English wasn't great, and after moving to the US, she didn't pursue any studies. She was just mooching off her parents. After her father passed away, her financial safety net vanished. She then married a white physician. In American society, these 4 words carry significant social cachet. Respected and well-off. Shenhua initially thought so, 2, believing she was about to live the life of a wealthy housewife, but reality proved otherwise. That doctor didn't marry her for her wit, her talents, or even her beauty. He married her simply because she was an Asian woman. To put it bluntly, it's yellow fever. These men see Asian women as docile, submissive trophies that feed their dominance complex. This stereotyping does real harm by reducing all Asian women to the same caricature. He brags about having an Asian wife, yet couldn't tell you her nationality or favorite food, too easily replaceable. Shenhua refused to sacrifice herself to satisfy some old white creep's perverted desires. The white doctor was bitterly disappointed to find reality fell far short of his expectations. He frequently subjected her to verbal abuse. He would sometimes press the unloaded gun against Shenhua's temple and pull the trigger. At first Shenhua was terrified, but gradually grew accustomed to it. After all, the chamber was empty until one day, the white doctor fired a bullet that landed less than 3 centimeters from her head. The psychological torment of this Russian roulette finally shattered Shenhua completely. She posted these things on social media, and Gu Xingji read them aloud to me. He believed all of Shenhua's suffering stemmed from the arranged marriage between the Wen and Gu families. I was the one who started it all, so he made me relive every last one of those horrors. Shenhua somehow got wind of my family's bankruptcy and flew back home immediately. Gu Xingji's eyes sparkled again, just like when we were young. I numbly told him, "I'll step aside for you too. Let's go get our divorce papers." We got into a car accident on the road and collided with a tanker truck. I was the one driving. Was it a mistake I made because I was too distraught? Or did I hit it on purpose? Or was that tanker truck violating traffic rules? To be honest, my memory's a bit hazy now. The last thing I remember before losing consciousness was Gu Xingji still cursing at me, blaming me for ruining his life with Shenhua. I'll never know what he endured in prison this lifetime. That's why he took Shenhua's return so lightly. Maybe had a similar dream as Mom did, but it's none of my business now. On the way home, that fuel truck reappeared in sight. "Mom, watch out," my daughter shouted. I steered around it with practiced ease. "Don't worry, Dad's waiting at home to have dinner with us later." All those stories about Shenhua and Gu Xingji were things I heard from old classmates. After his release from prison, Gu Xingji went looking for Shenhua. After enduring years of domestic violence, how could Shenhua remain unmoved seeing the man who once cherished her like a treasure? 11 For a fleeting moment, she might have thought money didn't matter. They'd been together for a while, but living together day in and day out didn't rekindle their old spark. It only made them see each other clearly. Shenhua still couldn't stand being broke. With a criminal record hanging over him, Gu Xingji couldn't land any decent high-paying jobs. Gu Xingji had hoped to find warmth and comfort in Shenhua, but Shenhua grew increasingly irritable. She'd never dare lash out at the white doctors, yet had no qualms taking it out on Gu Xingji. Their relationship lasted less than 3 months before they went their separate ways again. My parents cherished me and wanted to support my love. Manager Gu Xingji checked out the warehouse job paying 3,000 yuan monthly. Later, the warehouse owner somehow acquired a retired police dog. They claimed the K9 ate less and was sharper, way more cost-effective than hiring Gu Xingji. After losing his job, he ended up working construction. One spring festival, his wages got withheld while his mother desperately needed money for medication. In a fit of rage, He stormed into the contractor's office with a knife and landed back in prison. Honestly, I've got no idea when he got out this time. My classmates are all getting older, with kids to raise and parents to care for. There's just not much energy left to focus on him. Same here. My daughter grows more capable with each passing day. My parents are growing older each day, their hair increasingly streaked with silver. I feel both grateful and burdened. Thankfully, Ji Yanli is here by my side. He reads with me and learns how to handle our slightly rebellious teenage daughter. He accompanied me to take my parents for medical checkups, hoping they'd live to see 4 generations under one roof. True to his word, he stayed by my side longer than Gu Xingji ever did, much longer. The end. Story 2. My boyfriend was reborn. He said that in his previous life, he chose love. He chose me. The result made him regret it for a lifetime. After being reborn, he immediately accepted the rich girl who had been pursuing him madly. I'm really tired of living such an ordinary and boring life, constantly worrying about daily necessities. And he advised me, don't be so silly, real money is more important than backbone and reputation. We parted on good terms, and I focused on my career. As a result, by accident, I achieved class leap and became a wealthy woman. You want to break up with me? I lowered my head and stared at the coffee in my hand, trying my best to keep my tone normal. Yes, Duan Yunqing replied simply, causing ripples in the cup. I took a deep breath to come back and accompany him on our anniversary. I worked day and night during my business trip, without any appetite for food or tea yet. What I faced was my boyfriend wanting to break up with me. I looked up, blinked a few times, and forced back the tears. I tried to digest what he had just said. He said he was reborn in his previous life, because he chose to marry me and have children. He led an ordinary life, constantly worrying about daily necessities. Ever since it was dull and straightened, he regretted it, but out of responsibility, he still accompanied me through life. Fortunately, God had mercy and gave him a chance to start over in this life. He wanted to live for himself. I gave a bitter smile and looked straight at the man who had been in a relationship with me for exactly 6 years. The familiar gentle love in his peach blossom eyes was gone, replaced by impatience to get rid of me. When he met my gaze, he immediately looked away. Xiao Xiao, don't blame me. After all, I chose you in my previous life, but I can't make the same mistake again and again. Mistake spending a lifetime with me, Qin Xiao Xiao, was actually the wrong choice. A chill instantly spread through my body, and I spoke in a hoarse voice. Fine, then I wish you all the best in this life. I watched him rush out of the coffee shop impatiently. As soon as he got into the convertible supercar, he shared a passionate kiss with the beautiful woman in the passenger seat. I knew this woman. She was the daughter of his boss, Su Qini, the daughter of the Su Group, who had been on the local news headlines. Before my business trip, I had heard this name countless times from Duan Yunqing, but at that time, he talked about her in a complaining tone. This Su Qini is so annoying. If I don't reply to her messages, she'll come directly to my department to find me. If her father weren't the chairman, I would have already fallen out with her. How can a girl be so thick-skinned and persistent? At that time, I also felt a sense of crisis and tentatively said sourly, she's rich, beautiful, and in love with you. Why don't you just give in, Duan? Yunqing raised his eyebrows and smiled, then leaned in to kiss me. TSK, does she think she's a princess in ancient times? Just because she takes a fancy to someone, that person has to give in, no matter how good she is. She can't compare to my little Xiao Xiao. Our years of relationship can't be interfered with by her. Seeing that he wasn't swayed at all, I buried my unease deep in my heart. Yes, Duan Yunqing and I had been in a relationship for many years, from campus to society, and were about to get engaged. How could we be torn apart by an impulsive girl who suddenly appeared? Duan Yunqing had an outstanding appearance and handsome features. He was a campus heartthrob in university, and countless girls pursued him. But since we got together, he had always firmly chosen me and turned down many temptations for me. From the first year to the 6th year, I firmly believed that our relationship was unbreakable. But now, was he really that miserable being with me in his previous life? I returned home like a wandering soul, looking at the things that belonged to him everywhere. I felt at a loss. Should I cry my eyes out at this moment, or should I throw all his things out or get dead drunk? I sat on the sofa until dusk fell, stared blankly until my eyes ached, and finally slowly got up and went out. I went to the company to work overtime. The event plan I made during this business trip still needed to be refined, and some parts could be made more creative. I had to finish it. Love could leave, and men could betray, but only money could be my strongest support. I worked overtime until 4 a.m., and it happened to be the weekend. The next day, I threw my exhausted body onto the bed and slept until the evening. When I woke up and collected my thoughts, I turned on my phone. Besides my boss replying received to the PPT, There were no other messages. Duan Yunqing was still at the top of my contact list. I gave a bitter smile and was about to remove him, but by accident, I touched the wrong interface and found that there was a new post. On his moments, which he rarely updated driven by curiosity, I clicked in. It was a colorful 9-grid post about him and Suchini. There were pictures of him lifting the girl holding flowers high, of them holding hands in a luxury car, and of them hugging sweetly. The caption read, "My little princess." I didn't click to view the large pictures, but my thoughts went back to the time when we first got together. At that time, I thought of many announcements for our relationship and sent them to him, excitedly for him to choose, but he declined gently. I rarely post on moments. It would be strange to suddenly post this. All our friends know we're together, right? There's no need to do this, and it would be hard to explain if my parents saw it. Seeing that I was trying to hide my disappointment, he explained softly, "Whether we announce our relationship or not won't affect my love for you. Life is for ourselves. On the contrary, you're my treasure. If I don't hide you well, what if others covet you? I don't want more rivals in love." So I had to let the matter go and never mentioned it again. Over the years, he rarely posted on moments, and even when he did, there was never a trace of me in his posts. I had already gotten used to it. In the blink of an eye, his post had received a long list of likes. Many mutual friends even left comments, congratulating him on finding his beautiful girl and praising them as a perfect match. I buried my face in the pillow for a long time. Then I decisively blocked Duan Yunqing, and along with him, I also blocked his friends who used to call me sister-in-law. Although I had already packed up his things, I could still inadvertently find traces of him left behind, and it was hard to avoid remembering some past events. I knew I couldn't live in this house anymore. I took out my savings over the years, about 200,000 yuan, and the dowry my parents prepared for me, a total of 500,000 yuan. I paid the down payment for a newly opened housing estate. I should have bought a house earlier, but I considered that Duan Yunqing might not have enough money to marry me, so I had been saving this 200,000 yuan for him. I went to university in my hometown, while he came all the way from a small town to study here. After graduation, he naturally stayed in this provincial capital city. I moved out of my parents' house and rented a place with him, starting to plan for the future. Duan Yunqing's work wasn't as smooth as mine, plus, as a man, his expenses outside were high, so he didn't have much savings, and his family couldn't provide much support either. I originally thought that he hadn't proposed yet because he couldn't afford it. To relieve his pressure and make my parents more satisfied with him, I saved money by living frugally for him. Who would have thought that I was just being sentimental? After buying the house, burdened with a loan, I didn't want to let myself have time to think about things, so I threw myself into work. I went from leaving work on time just to rush to a date to voluntarily working overtime until late at night, from being reluctant to go on business trips because I was worried Duan Yunqing couldn't take care of himself to actively asking to stay in other places. I didn't mind doing dirty and tiring work, and I was determined to work hard. Suddenly returning to a single life, there were times when I couldn't hold on. On the way home late at night, when preparing breakfast and dinner alone, the loving scenes in my memory would come crashing back like a strong wind. Then I would grit my teeth and tell myself, don't look back, look forward. But unexpectedly, due to continuous work, lack of rest, and skipping breakfast, I had low blood sugar. On my way to work, I blacked out at the subway station, and when I opened my eyes, I was in the hospital. As soon as I came to, I heard the rapid clicking sound of high heels outside the door. Then my boss, Zhong Ku, rushed in wearing a business suit like a gust of wind. "You scared me to death. You didn't come to work and didn't reply to my messages." Fortunately, a passer-by answered the phone. "I called you and said you fainted in the street." I didn't know what happened. I asked that kind-hearted person to call 120 and came to see you before the morning meeting was over. Tell me, have you gone crazy recently? Why is your work attitude so abnormal? Working yourself to death? What for? My usually concise leader's rapid-fire questions actually made me feel a touch of warmth. Just as I was about to answer, my phone kept ringing with text message alerts. Zhongke motioned for me to check first. I picked up my phone and found that all the messages were from the same person. "Duan Yunqing, Qin Xiaoxiao, aren't you annoying? We've broken up, so why are you still calling me? Do you know that your constant calling has made my girlfriend suspicious? Don't say you love me and can't let me go. You're really annoying me. Just get lost and don't bother my new life." Okay, I checked the call log. It should be that when I fainted, the kind-hearted passer-by called the emergency contact number that I forgot to change. Although I knew I shouldn't bother him after the breakup, these words were still heartbreaking. It seemed that I used all my strength to reply and ask, "What if I really have something important to tell you?" He replied instantly, "Even if you die, It has nothing to do with me. I covered my eyes with the back of my hand and then smiled softly. He was no longer the warm and gentle young man in my memory. Without the filter of love, he was nothing more than a cold-hearted and unfeeling man. I took a deep breath, sat up straight, and looked Zhong-ku in the eye. Boss, you asked me what I'm doing this for. I just want to prove that I, Qin Xiaoxiao, will never lead an ordinary, boring, and worthless life. The woman in front of me raised her eyebrows and smiled. Then I'll give you a chance to prove yourself. Do you want it or not? I was ordered to rest for a few days. When I returned to the company, I found that I had been promoted to the head of the planning department, and the original head, Zhong-ku, became the general manager of the company and also revealed her identity. She was the daughter of the chairman. After coming to the company, she started from the bottom, gradually understood the internal situation, and also proved her strength. Zhong-ku learned that my commute was long and offered to apply for an employee apartment for me, but I politely declined. The house I originally rented was for Duan Yunqing's convenience in going to work. Now I planned to move back home and live with my parents. This way, it would not only be closer to the company but also save on rent. When preparing to move, all of Duan Yunqing's things were dug out again. They filled most of the room, mostly brand name clothes and designer sneakers that he had hardly worn a few times. There were also many luxury jewelry items. Duan Yunqing paid great attention to his appearance. He often said that clothes make the man, and he had high requirements for his attire. Most of his salary was spent on buying clothes. He went from chasing the latest styles to chasing limited editions. If he couldn't get the genuine products, he would buy counterfeits. Sometimes when he was short of money, he would also ask me for it. Later, to save his face as a man, when I knew he liked something, I would take the initiative to buy it for him. He then used the money he saved to go to increasingly high-end places. Now that I thought about it, perhaps in the past when I wasn't aware, our values had already been completely different. In the following days, I dedicated myself entirely to work. With Zhong-ku's occasional guidance, I no longer just worked blindly. I led the department staff, coordinated with each other, and optimized the processes. I became more and more proficient in planning activities and achieved better and better results. While I was up all night thinking of creative ideas, Duan Yunqing was indulging in the nightlife, reveling in debauchery. While I was rushing between venues non-stop, Duan Yunqing was having a romantic time with his girlfriend on a tropical island. I thought we would be like two intersecting lines, drifting further and further apart. But unexpectedly, a year later, we met again. It was the anniversary of our alma mater. Taking advantage of the fact that many classmates from other places had also come back, the class leaders organized a class reunion. After a busy day, I finally had a chance to catch my breath. In the evening, I arrived at the hotel on time. Most of the classmates were already in the private room, lively discussing the grand event of the day. Our school is developing better and better. The anniversary celebration was really magnificent. I heard that a well-known media company was hired, and a lot of money was spent. I pushed the door open, and everyone's eyes turned to me. Hey, Xiao Xiao is here. Where's Duan Yunqing? You two have been together for so many years. It's time for us to attend your wedding. Yes, yes, you two were the golden couple and model lovers in our class back then. Before I could explain, they were stopped by someone who knew the truth. He said in a loud whisper that everyone could hear. They broke up a long time ago. Duan Yunqing's current girlfriend is the daughter of the Su group. I smiled calmly and nodded, tacitly admitting it. The atmosphere suddenly became even livelier. The Su group, is it the one I'm thinking of? Exactly. I saw them together before. She's truly a top-notch rich and beautiful girl, standing next to Duan Yunqing. She makes him look like a noble young master. TSK, he's really lucky. Having a handsome face is quite an advantage. He could date the most beautiful girl in the class when he was in school, and now he can marry a wealthy heiress when it's time to get married. I ignored these discussions and just chatted in a low voice with my roommates whom I hadn't seen for a long time about our current situations. When the dinner was coming to an end, with the sound of the door opening, the atmosphere of the night reached its peak. It was Duan Yunqing who came. I frowned. Didn't the class monitor say he wouldn't come? Seeing the protagonist of the hot topic arrive, everyone stood up to greet him, and warm words poured out. Hey, isn't this the son-in-law of the Su family, brother Duan? If you become rich, don't forget about us, Yunqing. Are you and Miss Su getting married soon? Remember to invite us old classmates then. Duan Yunqing was invited to the honored seat. The arrogance on his face couldn't be hidden. He casually threw the key to his Maserati on the table. He casually rolled up the cuffs of his high-end custom-made shirt, revealing his Rolex Submariner watch. Sorry, everyone, I was held up by something, so I'm a bit late. As he spoke, he looked around haughtily, Coincidentally, his gaze met mine, causing him to frown. I was just about to pick up my handbag and make an excuse to slip away, but he called my name. Xiao Xiao, long time no see, how have you been recently? The other's eyes kept sizing us up. Watching this drama of a long-awaited reunion between former lovers up close, I hated the feeling of being stared at like a monkey the most and intended to play at him. Not bad, thanks for asking. His eyes swept over me. And then he let out a surprised Xiao Xiao, it's not that I want to criticize you, but I know you were sad after I broke up with you and wanted to prove desperately that you're doing better than me. But do you think carrying a fake bag can make you better than my current girlfriend? People don't need to be so vain and concerned about face, it's so tiring. I didn't understand where his hostility came from, making him speak so caustically and confrontationally, but I knew how to deal with his remarks. Looking at this man who was completely different from the one in my memory, I raised an eyebrow. I picked up the luxury brand bag in my hand and twirled around in front of everyone. I sneered and said, Duan Yunqing, you've been by the side of the rich and powerful for so long, why haven't you improved your judgment at all? The implication was obvious. I was mocking him for not being able to tell genuine from fake. Just then, my phone beeped with a message. I glanced at my phone and saw that Zhong Ku was urging me, so I stood up to leave. Sorry, everyone, I have something else to do, so I'll be leaving first. Duan Yunqing's temple's blue veins bulged, and he stared at me with a dark look in his eyes. That's a limited edition bag, how could you possibly afford it? A fake is a fake, stop being stubborn. Are you in such a hurry to leave because you're afraid of being exposed? I smiled faintly. Do you think I'm like you, who has to rely on fakes to maintain appearances when I can't afford the real thing? Qin Xiaoxiao, am I wrong? By the way, let me remind you, the plastic surgeon you chose isn't very skilled. Your mouth twists when you get angry. After saying that, ignoring the strange looks from my classmates behind me as they stared at him, I left without looking back. When I reached the hotel lobby, Zhong Ke and the others hadn't come down yet, so I stood there, waiting patiently. But instead of the people I was waiting for, I first met the classmates who were leaving the gathering. When they saw I was still there, the exchange of glances said it all. Aren't you the busy person who was in such a hurry to leave? Why are you lingering here? Don't tell me you ran away in a panic just now because you were afraid of being exposed. The speaker was a male classmate, the one who had been the most enthusiastic about discussing Duan Yunqing and flattering him throughout the evening. I gave him a sideways glance. Who's that barking? You. Seeing the male classmate getting furious, Duan Yunqing reached out to stop him and comforted him magnanimously. Calm down. Some people are just angry because they've been exposed. Seeing that their ex is doing better than them, they feel uncomfortable and try every means to save face. Such behavior is understandable, don't you think so? Xiao Xiao. As he spoke, there was a hint of triumph in Duan Yunqing's eyes that he couldn't hide. The classmates behind him whispered among themselves, and many of them looked at me with more disdain. I sighed inwardly. Only after the breakup did I see clearly who I had loved before. A bag I bought casually could cause so much trouble. It seemed that the lower they stepped on me, the more they could prove how right his choice was. I was too lazy to engage in a war of words because at this moment, a large group of people emerged from the elevator. I quickly left them behind and went up to greet them. Principal Zhao, Secretary Wang, I'm Qin Xiaoxiao, the main person in charge of this school anniversary event. Xiaoxiao, your director Zhong told me that you planned and handled all of this. You're truly outstanding at such a young age, no wonder. You're an excellent student from our school. You've led your team to become a top player in the industry in your 20s. Your future is limitless. They praised me with smiles, and I accepted it calmly while skillfully using diplomatic language. The classmates behind me took this opportunity to gather around and greet the school leaders one after another. Only Duan Yunqing's expression became more and more unpleasant. He let out a cold snort and said loudly, "What's so great about that? She's just someone who got promoted by a man." Director Zhong, the team, I've seen plenty of people who use their bodies to get results and then take credit for the team's work. The atmosphere suddenly turned cold. The familiar sound of high-heel shoes came from behind. A man? Since when did I, the only daughter of the Zhong family, become a man? Qin Xiaoxiao sleeping her way to the top. Come on, I prefer men with abs. Zhong Ke's half-smiling eyes swept lightly over them, causing an uproar. Duan Yunqing looked at the two of us, his face changing color several times, but he finally didn't say anything more. I ignored him and focused on cooperating with Zhong Ku, chatting with the leaders about future cooperation and then seeing them off to their cars. When I was done and drove away, I found that there were still many classmates waiting at the hotel entrance. I rolled down the car window and asked which female classmates needed a ride home, but I heard that familiar voice again, Chin. Xiao, you're driving a luxury car now, and you still say you didn't rely on a man. I know exactly what you're made of. If it wasn't for a man, did you rent this car? It was Duan Yunqing, smoking in the shadows. The glowing tip of his cigarette flickered on and off, making his face look dark and indistinct, but I finally saw this man's true colors clearly. His words finally made some classmates unable to hold back. Come on. Duan Yunqing, a grown man, has been nagging and being sarcastic all night. You say Qin Xiaoxiao relies on men, but it's you who relies on women. Anyway, she's driving her own car. Unlike you, waiting here miserably for your girlfriend, you're no different from a driver. I looked straight into Duan Yunqing's eyes in the shadows. If a Mercedes-Benz makes you think I'm driving a so-called luxury car, then you really don't know me well at all. After saying that, I stepped on the gas and drove away, kicking up a cloud of dust on the way. The female classmates in the car chattered and asked me, your relationship was so good back then, why do you act like enemies after the breakup? Why, I didn't know either. We parted on good terms, didn't we? Thanks to the school anniversary project, our company became well known this year. Zhongke noticed that there was a lack of professional and branded event planning in the market, so she separated the planning department from the parent company and established a new media company. I was appointed as the general manager and was in full charge of the company. She was responsible for investment and securing projects in this new field, whether it was a big or small project. I got personally involved, took the lead in negotiations, and did my best to make everything perfect. Currently, the Built a Good Reputation company has already in the industry, coupled with the popularity of the school anniversary. There has been an endless stream of orders. Small orders are taken on by the mature teams I trained, while I handle the large orders. One day, an important guest came. When I arrived at the meeting room, I saw a familiar figure. It was Su Qini. I recalled what the assistant said about the client's request to plan an engagement party, so they had already reached this stage. Duan Yunqing really was lucky. I took a deep breath and pushed open the glass door. If it weren't for professional requirements, I really would have refused this order. Su Qini came alone. She didn't recognize me and was enthusiastically describing her dream engagement party to me. She wanted flowers all over the place, a castle, fountains, an evening party, and fireworks. She wanted it to be sacred and romantic. I wrote down her requirements one by one during the conversation. Su Qini was elegant and polite, nothing like the spoiled and willful girl Duan Yunqing had described. I sighed inwardly. Duan Yunqing, this fake prince, really didn't deserve this real princess. The Su family's engagement party had high requirements and a tight schedule. After staying up for several nights, I sent the proposal to Su Qini. A few minutes later, she called me directly. Manager Qin, did you make a mistake somewhere? Her tone was calm, but as the service provider, my heart tightened. Miss Su, what are you not satisfied with? Why is the logo XD? Who does the D stand for? I was a bit confused and replied instinctively, isn't it Duan Yunqing? Su Qini laughed softly. He's just a nobody. How does he deserve to marry me? It's my fault for not making it clear, I thought. Everyone knew about my engagement to the heir of the Jioga group. I forgot that you're not in our circle. Jioga was a well-known clothing brand, on par with the Su group in strength. Their engagement might be well-known in the upper-class circles, but as an ordinary worker, I had no idea. Sorry, I made assumptions and didn't do my job thoroughly. I'll make the changes right away. It doesn't matter. Su Qini brushed it off readily, but then her tone turned serious. However, how did you know I had a relationship with Duan Yunqing? I hesitated for a long time. We were college classmates. No wonder. Su Qini's tone became cheerful again. He probably showed me off all over his moments. Seriously, hey, Manager Qin, you graduated from University A, right? So Duan Yunqing really graduated from a prestigious university. I thought he only managed to get into some unaccredited college. Anyway, let's not talk about irrelevant people. I have a new idea for the engagement party. See if you can add it in. I didn't have the heart to explore the relationship between Su Qini and Duan Yunqing anymore. I just focused on serving this important client well because the pay was really good. With my top-notch team, we worked day and night for over a month, and finally, we presented the grand engagement party Su Qini wanted. Before the ceremony started, I was on site coordinating everything. In the middle of the chaos, I felt my arm being suddenly grabbed. Qin Xiaoxiao, you still can't let go of me. When you heard Su Qini was getting engaged, you sneaked in to see me, right? It was Duan Yunqing. With bloodshot eyes, he must have had more plastic surgery. His original peach blossom eyes now had even wider double eyelids, and his nose was higher and narrower, but even so, despite wearing luxury brands, he still looked listless. I frowned and shook off his grip. What are you going crazy for? I pointed to my name tag that said head of staff and said, I'm a staff member. Okay, the malice in his eyes grew stronger. A staff member, huh? Then you already knew Suchini wouldn't marry me. You came here specifically to laugh at me, didn't you? I was too busy to argue with him and signaled the staff to pull him away. Duan Yunqing, Suchini is my client. If you dare to cause trouble at this event today, I will never let you off. You have no part in today's show. I suggest you get lost as far as possible. Watching him being dragged out of the hotel, I added more security personnel and asked them to keep a close eye on him. But even so, in the middle of the ceremony, I heard from the headset that an outsider had broken in. When I arrived, I found that Suchini's bodyguards had already subdued Duan Yunqing before the security guards arrived. Seeing me come, they casually threw him on the ground, nodded to me, and then left. I looked at the man, who was beaten black and blue and lying on the ground like a pile of mud, and didn't say a word. He didn't look at me either. Staring up at the sky, he let out a cold snort, here to laugh at me. His newly done nose was crooked from the beating, and he looked ridiculous. I finally asked the question that had been bothering me for a long time. Duan Yunqing, we parted on good terms. Why do you still hold a grudge against me? He laughed maniacally. Why? You ask me why? Why can you live so well after leaving me? Why can you easily achieve by yourself the glory and wealth that I obtained by sacrificing my dignity? Tell me, how can I not hate you when I see you like this? At this moment, my relief at breaking up with him reached its peak. How dare he say that everything I have was easily obtained while he was groveling and flattering others. I was doing my best to meet clients' needs while he was using his looks to his advantage. I was pulling all-nighters, turning sallow from lack of sleep while he was squandering money. I was making smart plans, investing, and making my money work for me. So, while he was panicking that everything he had might be taken away, I was calmly enjoying my wealth. Why shouldn't I be doing better than him? Perhaps he never really loved me. He only loved himself. He chose to be in a relationship with me for all those years because my appearance and academic achievements could add luster to his life at that stage. But once we entered the next stage and I could no longer meet his needs, I became a discarded pawn, a pawn that wasn't allowed to do better than him. Being with such a person was truly a stain on my life. Just thinking about it made me feel sick. Of course, I didn't see him again after that. Suchini still entrusted us with organizing her wedding. This time, there were no unwanted guests at the ceremony, and the newlyweds were deeply in love at the wedding venue. I heard one of Suchini's friends casually mention the young lady's past romantic affairs. She said that the most obedient little wolf dog had become an erotic live streamer after being dumped. Indeed, Duan Yunqing was used to a life of luxury. How could he be willing to work hard again? Perhaps due to his good looks, he gained some popularity. After a while, I actually saw him on a short video app under the ambiguous and shining lights. Duan Yunqing was wearing a uniform, his tie loosely tied. He was vigorously twisting his waist and hips, shaking to the rhythm. From time to time, he caressed his chest and lower areas, deliberately showing off his jawline throughout the video with a seductive expression. I had to admit, he was really working hard at his erotic live streaming, but compared to the countless gifts, the money still came easily. When the top contributor in the live stream room sent a virtual rocket gift, he smiled widely and kept flattering the person. I wanted to see how much it would cost to make young Master Duan smile, but by accident, I also sent a rocket. His smile grew even wider. Thank you, Sister Xiao Xiao, for the rocket. Sister Xiao Xiao, if you like me, you can send more gifts. Maybe you'll have a chance to get my exclusive videos. I felt regretful and embarrassed. With goosebumps all over my body, I immediately exited the live stream room and added him to the blacklist. But when I logged back into the app, I found that he had sent me a message from his assistant account. It's you, isn't it? I remember now. Your screen name across all platforms is Xiao Xiao. What? Can't sit still now that you see me rising to fame again. But give up. I'm a big influencer now. And there are countless wealthy women waiting to throw money at me. Without you, without Suchini, I can still live a great life. I blocked him again. He sure loves to drama queen around. I'm swamped with my own stuff. Who cares about him? But his good days didn't last long. Later, the platform tightened regulations and banned a batch of accounts that crossed the line. His account was permanently suspended. He tried creating several new accounts, but besides doing borderline erotic content, he had no other talents. Gradually, he lost his traffic and vanished from the internet. One day, Zhongku was on a business trip and sent me a video. She was invited to dinner by a business partner and went to a KTV for some fun afterward. In the video, There was a familiar figure wearing a loose, fitting shirt, showing off a large expanse of abs. He was flattering a female boss to drink when she refused. He even tried to feed her the drink mouth to mouth. The clear liquid slid down his Adam's apple, a sight too cringy to watch. Jonka seemed amused. Isn't that your ex-boyfriend, TSK? Looks like you had a good time with him before. I heard the hosts here are available for extra services. Should I book him and bring him back for you to play with? Me, spare me. A long time later, I saw him for the last time at a corner of the hospital. I was accidentally bumped into by Duan Yunqing after recognizing each other. He called out to me, Xiao Xiao, how have you been recently? I smiled calmly. Not bad, that's good. Back then, I treated you so badly. Do you still hate me? I dodged the question. Life is vast, there's no room to waste emotions on unworthy people and things. He looked haggard. Upon hearing this, he forced a smile. I know I wronged you. These days, I often think about our time at school, when we loved each other carefree and without any ulterior motives. If I could, honey. A hearty male voice cut off what he was about to say. I turned around and saw my husband, Song Qiming, walking towards me with a beaming smile. Honey, the 4D ultrasound photos of our baby are out. Look, our little one is so chubby and cute. As he spoke, he gently put his arm around my waist, excitedly sharing the joy of becoming a father for the first time. Duan Yunqing looked at my belly, which was slightly but distinctly rounded under my coat, and stood there stunned. I nodded at him. I have something else to do, so I'll be leaving now. I then took Song Qiming's arm and turned to leave, but I heard the man behind me ask in a trembling voice, Qin Xiaoxiao, why did you get married and have a baby with someone else? You should have. Afraid that listening further would make me nauseous, I interrupted him. Should have what? Waited for you. Duan Yunqing, I hope you understand that you're not the protagonist of this world. After saying that, I left without looking back. If this were a romance novel, I might have been the infatuated supporting female character at his beck and call, waiting endlessly for someone I couldn't have. If it were a revenge-themed novel, I might have gritted my teeth, sought revenge, worked hard on my career, and become a strong female lead who chose not to marry or have children. But my life can't be categorized so simply. I enjoy the challenges of the workplace, and I also yearn for the warmth of a family. So when the right time came and I met the right person, I settled down. My heart and soul found a home, and love blossomed and bore fruit. When we left the hospital and passed that corner again, the man was long gone, but there was a medical examination report lying on the ground. Song Qiming kindly picked it up, and I accidentally glanced at it. Name, Duan Yunqing. Test result, HIV-1 antibody positive. Plus, now, let's travel back in time, back to the time when I was just dumped, holding back tears. I was packing up the things Duan Yunqing left behind. I noticed that he forgot to log out of WeChat on his iPad. There was a very active group chat, and I could vaguely see my name mentioned. I secretly clicked in and uncovered the so-called truth. Scrolling up through the chat records, I saw what Duan Yunqing had said while I was on a business trip. As a native of Shanghai and an only child, Xiao Xiao is actually a pretty good marriage prospect. I didn't really want to break up with her, but there's no other way. Su Qini is offering too much. Su Qini's father is worth tens of billions. She's the only daughter in the family. Once I marry her, won't all that wealth be mine? No matter how good Qin Xiaoxiao is, she's just from a moderately well-off family. How can she compare? Look out for number one, or the world will condemn you. Figuring out how to break up with her was such a headache. Otherwise, why would I have waited this long? But I came up with the perfect excuse. I'll say I was reborn and had a miserable life with Qin Xiaoxiao in my past life. This way, it won't count as betraying her. She's soft-hearted. Once I play the moral card, she'll leave without a fuss. I stared at the screen for a long time. In the end, I decided not to expose his lie. I chose to let him have his way, and in doing so, I set myself free too. I made his pursuit of a carefree and adventurous life, and I also opened the door to my own bright future. Extra. My name is Duan Yunqing. I was born in a remote small town, with a handsome appearance and excellent grades. I grew up surrounded by praise, the so-called the perfect child that parents always compare their own kids to. So many people told me that I would achieve great success one day. I firmly believed that I was like a pine tree growing out of the mud, destined for greatness. When I received my university acceptance letter, I secretly vowed that I would leave this small town forever and turn my life around. After entering university, I started looking for the right person to date, someone who could help me build a better future. But not long after, I was captivated by Qin Xiaoxiao's smile. She seemed to come from a good family, being generous and proper in everything she did. She was irresistible. She must have liked me too, because on the night I confessed my love after drinking, Her eyes sparkled like stars. That's how we got together. I comforted myself that she was the best girlfriend I could find at the time, beautiful, well-mannered, and from a decent family. She wasn't from a wealthy or powerful family, but she was a reliable fallback option. I thought I could always keep looking for something better while being with her. But surprisingly, I never found that better option. Although I had countless admirers, none of them could compare to Qin Xiaoxiao. Some wealthy girls pursued me, but their personalities were far from hers. So, after all my searching and hesitating, we were still together when we graduated from university. After graduation, she started planning our future together, buying a house, a car, getting married, and having children. Just thinking about these things made me feel suffocated. Was this really going to be my life, with everything so predictable? Was my dream of rising to the top going to end here? Was I just supposed to accept this fate? No, I was afraid she was like warm water slowly boiling me to death, so I decided to make a leap. Coincidentally, the chairman's daughter came to the company for an internship. With some deliberate flirting, I managed to pique her interest. I thanked fate for this opportunity, this rope that could pull me to the top, and fortunately, I grabbed hold of it. Was spending my life with Qin Xiaoxiao really the wrong choice? My guilt quickly vanished in the face of the glamorous life I now led. With my sweet words, my willingness to grovel, and my meticulous care, I became the man who stayed by Su Qini's side the longest. I thought the vast wealth was within my grasp, but then I met Qin Xiaoxiao again. She was even more beautiful. The pain of our breakup hadn't left a single mark on her. She carried herself with grace, confident and charming. My heart started pounding wildly, but I knew it wasn't love rekindling. It was hatred flaring up. Why did she manage to transform and start anew? Why didn't she end up living the mundane life of a housewife, worrying about daily chores? Why was she dressed in luxury brands, looking like a real wealthy heiress? I hated her so much. She shouldn't have been like this. But before I could figure out how to bring her down, I fell hard. Su Qini got engaged, and the groom wasn't me. I was the last one to know. What's more, Qin Xiaoxiao was the one who planned the entire engagement party. I hated her with a vengeance. I wanted to make a quick comeback, to rise again and show her that I was right to leave her. But it seemed that with one wrong step, I kept stumbling. Many years later, as I lay on my hospital bed, my body broken and worn out, I suddenly remembered that afternoon when I came up with the idea of using rebirth as an excuse to break up with her. The sun was shining brightly, but I didn't care. I was so proud, thinking I had finally found my way out. I thought I was walking on a golden path to success. Little did I know, it was a path of no return, blinding me with false promises of wealth and luxury.